liable for anything, and I emphasize, done in good faith in the performance of a function of office. You are aware of that proviso?
Yes.
And you are aware then that Article 259 is the basis under which this tribunal was constituted and appointed?
Yes, I'm aware.
Now, are you, as commissioners, liable for acts where found they are not in good faith?
Sorry, repeat the question.
I've read Article 259.
Yes.
What of acts done not in good faith?
Well, then one has to take responsibility for their actions. If you act in bad faith against your oath of office, then you take responsibility for that action.
Is it a whole responsibility as a commissioner or a personal responsibility?
Sorry?
You take personal responsibility?
Yes.
Very well. Now, I want to go through the facts that you deponed in the affidavit, one slowly, and we'll go to the big bundle, volume 4, and I'll deal with the first affidavit, the one of Youth Advocacy Africa and Peter Kirika as the petitioners. You have that?
Yes, I have it.
Now, you are aware of the issues in this petition?
I will, of course, listen to the petitions. I perused them briefly, and I'm aware of some of the issues.
Some of the issues.
It may not be all, yeah.
And in this affidavit, if I'm correct, you talked about the conduct of elections, the processes that led to, and the system and all that relates to the elections.
That's correct.
Right. And I will then not then rely on that affidavit. I'll go to the second affidavit, Khalifa case.
Yes, I'm there.
You're there. It starts on page 203. Now, if you look at that affidavit, if you look at page 208, you talked about procurement.
Yes.
Not related to the tribunal. Page 209, you talk about voter registration.
Yes.
Page 210, you talk about voter education.
Yes.
Page 211, you talk about technology.
Yes.
Page 211 to 212, you talk about result path verification and tally.
Yes.
Now, all through until around paragraph 64, at no point does it appear to be a disjointed commission or a dispute amongst commissioners. Kindly confirm or explain that.
As in relation to all these processes
Yes.
that happened up to and after, up to election?
Yes.
Yes, there was no disjointed commission. We worked as a commission following the law and the procedures laid down.
And we go then to paragraph 71, is where now we start seeing challenges amongst or within the commission.
Yes.
71 on the date of the 15th of August 2022.
Yeah.
So prior to 15th August, how was your relationship as commissioners, and in particular with Commissioner Irene Masit?
As a commission, we were, of course, appointed from 2017. The team chair and 6 commissioners. 4 of them resigned, and we were 3 who then we proceeded to work, and we were joined by 4 commissioners on the 2nd of September 2021. And of course, when they came in, we brought them up to speed, and we worked very well. The relationship was good, I run an open door policy as a chair, and any commissioner with an issue, including Commissioner Masid, always walk to my office if there was an issue. So there were no problems.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, I've read through from paragraph 71 all through and the issues, and I believe let's tackle them in the affidavit in the case of Raila Odinga and Mother Karua, because there you've expounded them further. So let's go to the third affidavit. And we'll deal in this affidavit for quite a while. And you start by your introduction, paragraph 1 and 2, and you talked about your position in paragraph 2. Clarify that position.
Yes, in paragraph 2, I state that in my capacity as chairperson of the commission, I was the returning officer for presidential elections held on the 9th of August, 2022.
And you have put a
more role of a returning officer. Presidential is just one election, but we have other returning officers running all the 6 elections we carry on. Returning officer's job is to ensure that all the processes relating to elections, from nomination up to nomination of candidates up to declaration of results, is met.
My emphasis
Yes.
is on the presidential returning officer.
Yes.
So what was your role there? Presidential returning officer.
Alongside the commission, the distinct roles involved nomination of candidates, issuing candidates with certificates to enable them contest in the elections, as well as declaration, final declaration of results.
And final declaration.
Not that I know of. There's no such legal requirement, and it would be a recipe for chaos if that were the case.
And in this case,
Yes.
being the returning officer for the presidential elections, were you working in LASOM or assisted by a commissioner or staff? Because I believe you are not a one-man team.
Yes, I worked very closely with the commission being the secretariat and the commissioners.
And the commissioners.
Yes.
Right. Let's jump all the way up to paragraph 12. That 12 and 13, you did introduce that when the Commissioner Irene Masit was appointed.
Yes.
And I believe you had already mentioned the date there,
Yes.
which was, I believe, 1st September.
The Gazette notice was 1st September, but I remember she was sworn in office on 2nd September and reported on duty on that day.
And she reported on duty on that day.
Yes.
And after that, her appointment with the rest was a commission fully constituted?
Yes.
Right. And you've confirmed that you are constitutional office holders.
Yes, we were until when we exited office.
And there are specific expectations for you as when you are constitutional office holders.
Yes.
Right. And you are aware that the removal is pursuant to Article 251 of the Constitution.
Yes.
Now, I want us to go briefly on the grounds that were set out in the affidavits and were reiterated in the petitions filed before the tribunal. And I'll go to part 3 of the affidavit from paragraph 36. That's the affidavit.
Okay.
An emphasis is only on the presidential elections. Now, 36 to 38, you are talking about what here?
in 36, we are saying the presidential election results were relayed and transmitted to the National Tallying Center as outlined in the results path published by the Commission pursuant to Section 39 and Regulation 87.
This, you're talking about the issue of transmission all the way to paragraph 38.
Yes.
Now, when all this was on the issue of transmission, was there any dispute amongst the commissioners?
On the issue of transmission?
Yes.
There was no dispute. This results path was approved by the Commission.
Yes.
I remember in a plenary meeting we had somewhere in Mombasa.
Yes.
And it was published.
It was published?
Yes, and transmission then went on without any problem, and there was no issue.
And the transmission went on until which day?
Well, transmission of Form 34As commenced immediately after polling and counting. And I think within the 48 hours after the 9th of August, we had almost 99.8 transmission.
99.8%?
Yeah, 99.98% transmission of Form 34As happened within 48 hours from polling and counting.
Was there any breaches of the law in respect to the issue of transmission?
Not that I'm aware of.
Was there any issue or dispute raised by Commissioner Irene Masit?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. We move, sir, to part 4, which starts at paragraph 39. And you then introduce a place called Bomas of Kenya. Kindly tell us what was Bomas of Kenya. Was it ever gazetted and why?
Yes, as you know, our officers at advisory towers don't have sufficient space. But a presidential election being a huge operation, we then, the Commission procured the Bomas of Kenya as a tallying center. And after the procurement, then we officially gazetted it as a national tallying center.
It's a national tallying center.
Yes.
And what's the purpose and why was it gazetted as a national tallying center?
The purpose is it's a legal requirement that you must have, the tallying center must be gazetted and running to all the other 5 elections normally gazette tallying centers, so that candidates and the interested persons know where the tallying will take place. It's a legal requirement. And that's why we gazetted it.
All right.
Yes.
And the tallying is done. What beyond tallying, is there any other things done at the national NTC?
Yes, it's an operation. We talk of verification, tallying of results, and final declaration of the winner of that election, or final declaration of results. All those activities happen at national tallying centers, but they can't happen in isolation. Of course, it's a whole operation, okay. And there are many people, there are many players, so a lot of other activities happen.
Right, and
yes.
I don't say this in jest, but you will hear mention of Nairobi Serena Hotel and other places. I believe you have only one national tallying center.
The national tallying center was at Bomas of Kenya, and there's no other national tallying center for purpose of 2022 general elections.
Purposes of 2022 general elections. Now, we go to the next point. You talk about what you did to enhance transparency, and this you start at paragraph 42 all the way to 45. And the issue of verification, I can bet it will come up in cross-examination. And I need you say you did it in an open way, and I would want you to explain the processes done in verification and how you managed it as the chairman of the IEBC.
Yes, first we gazetted the results path. Secondly...
So what was the result path?
The result path is, as per the Gazette notice laid out in paragraph 37, which runs up to The paragraph, yes, the entire paragraph 37.
Yes.
Would you like me to go through it?
Just very briefly, so
Yes.
that we flow together.
So election takes place at the constituencies and at the polling stations. For purpose of presidential election, the voting and counting is done at the constituency. I mean at the polling station, and then we have Form 34A filled by the presiding officer and signed by the presiding officer and the agents. And once that is done, the form is scanned and transmitted to the National Tallying Center and the Constituency Tallying Center. And we had a copy of the same going to the public portal. So that is the genesis of the election.
Before you move, in the affidavit of the first affidavit, you talked about technology and the basis why it had to go to the public portal. Kindly explain.
Yes, so for purposes of the election, we then set up a public portal to ensure that all the results are deposited in the public portal, and anybody who wishes to interact with the results, not just Kenyans but the whole world, would have an opportunity to interact with the results.
Did that portal have a password, or are you saying every citizen of this great republic and any person anywhere in the world could access it?
Yes, we did not have a password for the portal. Just log in IEBC and you get into the portal. What we ensured is that we have sufficient firewalls so that those who intended to penetrate or crash it would not be able to. And I believe many people interacted with the portal. From the records we have, we had 386 million people worldwide interacting with the portal, and about, I think, mostly from Kenya, there were about 300, but the 80 million were from the rest of the world.
Right, so you're saying 386 million?
Yes, interacted.
In a country of 50 million interacted with the portal?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to paragraph 42. Let's go to, you are explaining now the verification, how it was done.
Yes, so the verification was done in line with the results path, and at the Bomas of Kenya, then we set up in the auditorium various desks which were to carry out the verification. And this then was done in an open and transparent manner.
As it was done, do you know when it started?
We got, I think, we set up the desks way before the election date, and the first results came in, I think, from the 10th of August.
10th of August?
Yeah, 10th of August, yes.
It involved who in particular? Only IBC officials or commissioners?
The desks had IBC officials with agents. Each desk has an IBC official who had to deal with the data. We had the agents of the 4 presidential candidates, and we had also, then there's a chair for the returning officer when he comes. He or she comes from the constituency to present the results. So that was the composition of the desks at the auditorium.
So in the process, once you verify, what would happen, which you've explained?
Yes. First, what were we verifying? Yes. We had the results in the portal, in the scanned form 34A. Then we had results now at the constituency. The constituency returning officer collects all the result from 34As from all the polling stations, fills from 34B, and then brings it to the National Tallying Center. So at the National Tallying Center, the team was looking at what was in the portal versus the original Form 34As brought in by the returning officer as against the 34B. And if there are any errors, mostly errors were around the populating of 34B, then the error forms were filled, and the result forms then were not, none could be changed to just fill the error forms. And those error forms were all then submitted to the commission. So the team was verifying all these results, and once the verification was done and everybody's happy, then the results are posted. The Form 34As are populated into Form 34C by another team that was sitting on the auditorium, the ICT team. So then Form 34C would automatically be generated. Yes.
Thank you. Now, when you say it's automatically generated, I need you to explain what you mean and whether it was then in a place where the public would view.
Yes, all the desks were in the open. In this auditorium, we had observers, we had members of the public who were accredited to be present, and it was in an open place. Even the ICT team was seated in the auditorium on their own desk.
Now,
so it's an open process.
Were the commissioners kept in the dark, or were they aware or involved in any way?
All,
so how?
Yes. I say all the 6 commissioners were with me in the auditorium right from the beginning, and they were all over the auditorium assisting in the exercise of tallying and verification.
Okay. And as the verification was happening, we could see announcements being made by commissioners. Kindly explain how that was happening.
Yes. The constituency returning officer, after going through the process and the verification, which was very, very thorough, by the way. I remember in the beginning it took a lot of time because of the scrutiny of those 34As and 34Bs.
Mr. Chairman, you
Yes.
know, when you say it was very thorough, Queen's English, probably now King's English, it's good to explain when you say it was very thorough. What do you mean?
Because all the agents had a chance to look at all the forms, and if there was any issue, then it will be brought to our attention as a commission and is resolved before that result is announced. Then the commissioners would go and announce the result. I announced the first result. I think that was Webuye East, and then the rest were done by the commissioners.
So you are saying it was thorough?
Yes.
Involved everyone?
Yes.
The commissioners also?
Yes, everybody was involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there any point where, and I mean particular, Commissioner Irene Masid came and said, this, what you have verified as the results, looking at the portal or what was scanned at the polling station, is a problem or is not correct?
I'm not aware of any such issue being raised by Commissioner Masit about the results being or not being correct.
Not being correct.
Yeah.
And this announcement you're saying you did the first one. Who did the other announcements? And how many announcements were there if you have the numbers or you know have how many were remaining? Who were doing them?
We have 291 returning officers for the 2022 general elections, presidential elections, and all the rest of the announcements for the results was done by the commissioners. I don't have figures as to who announced how many, but the rest of the commissioners did the announcement.
We will get to the point where Commissioner Irene Masit appears to have an issue, but did she make announcements herself?
Yes, she did. She announced quite a number of constituency results for presidential election.
And during her announcement, did she raise any issue? You are asking me to announce this. I have a problem. Was there any issue raised?
Not from Commissioner Masit. Maybe the other commissioner, one had an issue with the depilation of results, and we resolved it, and they went back and announced the correct result. I think that was Commissioner Nyangaya.
In one area?
In one area.
One
291. Yes.
But nothing from Irene?
Nothing from Commissioner Masit.
Right. We move to paragraph 47, 46, flowing 46. Now, we then move to 47, all the way to 52. You said there was a slow progress, right? And you talk about changes done, and I need you to explain, was it a single, you solely making changes or proposals? Was it a commission, or how did you resolve this?
Yes, we had a workflow plan which had been put in place, and after the first 3 days, we realized we had only done about 35 to 40 constituencies. Then we realized, given the constitutional timelines, which require that we complete the exercise within 7 days, we realized we would not be able to finish this exercise at that slow pace. So we called for a commission meeting, an informal meeting. We had many meetings, by the way, on every issue that arose, and we agreed that we change the format of doing things so that we increase the number of verification desks to 14 from 7, 14 or 15. And then also we changed the format so that we could fast track the process. We had returning officers from the constituents just sitting there for 2-3 days, and we had not been able to filter them. So we had to change the format, and it worked.
And this, you say we held a meeting. What do you mean by we held a meeting?
I and the commissioners had a meeting with the CEO, and we decided to change the format. And we also invited the agents of the candidates to brief them on the changes.
Was there any challenge or dispute from the agents?
No, but everybody agreed with the format, and we proceeded with the exercise.
Was there any issue raised by Commissioner Irene Masit?
None whatsoever.
Was she part of the solution?
Yes, she was.
Right. Now, through the evidence, we'll hear about some committees or commissioners you had given appointed to do specific tasks.
Yes.
Was that correct?
Yes.
Were there any who were supposed to oversee this issue of verification and the like?
Yes, for purposes of the verification, all commissioners participated in the exercise of verification and tallying, but as part of governance, you cannot just have everybody doing everything. Bombers was a huge operation, and so it put in place a mechanism where commissioners would oversee certain functions, and this then was in preparation for the tallying and the period of tallying itself. So I set up committees as part of corporate governance for its management of the center, and for purposes of the coordinating activities in the National Tallying Center, Professor Gulier and Hussein Marijan and a team of staff were in charge of that operation.
And was there a role for Commissioner Irene Masit?
Yes, Commissioner Masit and Commissioner Wanderi were put in charge of security and welfare. What do I mean by security? As a commission, of course, we have to work with the National Police Service and other operations where we have security not just for the center, but this was security for the whole country, where we deployed over 100,000 police officers to man the elections. And all the complaints were ending up at the commission. And so this was security and welfare of staff. Then we had also Commissioner Molu and Vice Chairperson Juliana in charge of media center and the call center. So those were the major areas of operation.
And as you set up these committees and put together your commissioners and staff to assist, were there any problems or any challenges, especially from Commissioner Irene Masit?
There were no challenges from the rest, except Commissioner Masit came and told me she can't work with Commissioner Wanderi. She wants to be her own team. So I split the security and welfare and gave her the welfare part, and Commissioner Wanderi handled the security.
That split is where I was getting to
Yes.
know whether it was out of the blue or it was a request.
It was a request, and Commissioner Wanderi also came and said, I can't work with Commissioner Masit.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, fine. So we.
All right. We
you
will not
guys,
go to the
split it up.
reasons,
Yes,
but
yeah.
you just split because you wanted your commission to work.
I just wanted a smooth operation.
And
Yes.
as they worked pre-15th August, did any of them raise any issues?
Not as it relates to the operation of bombers. If they had any issue, then it was not brought to my attention.
Any issue, it was then brought to your attention.
Yes.
We are aware there were some announcements that were pending, several, I think 20-something, before issues arose. You remember?
Yes, there were 27 constituency results which had been verified on the night or the morning, the night of 15th or the morning of 15th, but they had not been announced.
Now, before the announcement, were those the last ones?
Yes, those were the last ones.
Those are the last ones?
Yes.
So you had done a good percentage in terms of verification?
Yes, out of 291, those 27 were the last ones.
Out of 291, 27 were remaining?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get the percentage shortly, which is just above 10%, or thereabout.
Yes.
Now, on all the others, save for this 27, did anyone raise, especially the Commissioner Masit, raise any issue?
There was no issue raised by Commissioner Masit on any of the results that were announced.
In terms of the forms, the way the forms were filled, the validity of the forms, especially 34C, was there any challenge, any issues raised by Commissioner Irene Masit?
None whatsoever.
All right. Now, we go to where issues started, and we go to paragraph 58, which also appears in the petition by Reverend Tumbi, and also for Langat, paragraph 58. Is, at 55, you mentioned about attempts to subvert the will of the people as an introduction.
Yes.
You're there? And I would be happy to know why you headed it that way. Attempts to subvert the will of the people. And you are a very, very senior lawyer, senior to both myself and Donald, and here. And probably as a lawyer, it would be fair to ask, when you talk about subverting the will of the people, vis-a-vis what the Constitution expects of you. Kindly explain.
The Constitution of Kenya is very, very clear on what our system of elections through, democracy. And we, as a commission, were put in place to ensure that Kenyans then express their will, which is through the ballot, and that we then announce the winners of those particular elections. This then brings me to Article 81 of the Constitution, which is 81A, which is very clear. It requires that we remain independent and that the election conducted is transparent. We conduct it in a transparent, impartial, neutral, and efficient manner, which is also accountable. So as a commission, we are referees, and as a referee, then you expect that you do your work fairly to everyone. And so these activities, which were listed here, were then attempts to divert the commission from what the Constitution expects of us.
Were they then attempts to breach or violate the Constitution?
Yes, definitely, because the Constitution expects of the Commission to be independent, treat all candidates fairly, be independent and transparent, and all those things that are listed in Article 81E. Now, anything short of that, then it negates what is expected. And we also have what's called 249, which is also clear that we ought to do our work without, in accordance with the Constitution and without interference from anyone. And also our oath of office is very, very clear. It reiterates all those things.
Right.
Yeah, so Then whatever activities listed here are then diversions that would have made us be party to subverting the will of the people.
You've talked about your oath of office.
Yes.
And before we go to the circumstance, what exactly happened? What is expected of your oath of office as commissioners of IEBC?
First, we swear to uphold the Constitution and the laws, the relevant laws. And of course, it reiterates, it's in sync with Article 249, which says we only obey the Constitution and the law and not any individual authority. And that is then expounded by Article 81E as to then carries the issue of impartiality and independence.
What
that a commission then, a chair and commission is expected to be impartial and independent, and the commission in general.
Then if
yes.
That's the oath of office, what then if you commissioners of commissioners then support attempts to subvert the will of the people?
Then we would have simply acted against the Constitution, and he should be held to account if one goes outside his oath of office.
It's gone outside oath of office.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I will jump at paragraph 57 because the people mentioned there are not here. I'll go to paragraph 58. Now, there was an incident at 3 a.m. on the 15th of August when you visited by some people mentioned there.
Yes.
3 a.m., had you slept or were you working through the day and through the night?
We were working 24/7. For the 5 days, I never went home to sleep.
You never went home?
Yes, I went home only to refresh and change and come back.
Okay.
Yeah, but we were working day and night, and most of the commissioners were also there. Maybe one or two to go rest and come, and it's so like we just had to work.
Now, you say that somebody contacted you that you had these guests.
Yes.
Kindly explain who contacted you, and you talk about several attempts. Kindly explain. Paragraph 58.
Yes, the auditorium and the holding room are adjoined, and we are also operating from the holding room, working from there. And then I got messages from members of staff, from my security detail, that this gentleman and commissioners, that this gentleman wanted to see me. And this was around that time. So then they came in. Actually, I didn't say yes, they should come in, but they came in just like that, uninvited. They just walked in.
And where you were in the boardroom, the office?
I was in the holding room.
Okay.
I had actually told my CEO I'll take a nap for 1 hour and wake me up around that time, but I was woken up by this gentleman instead.
So you are sleeping and some
yes,
gentleman wake you up?
On my chair, yes.
Now, because one of the gentlemen will come in later with a meeting with you somewhere out of the NTC, that first person, who was he?
That is Honorable Rafael Tuju. He was at that point in time a cabinet secretary in the previous government, and he just he came there on behalf of the Azimio party.
And did Azimio have a presidential candidate?
Yes, it had a presidential candidate and also a chief agent.
They had a chief agent?
We had agreed that any issues which involves candidates should be raised by chief agents.
All right. So
yes.
This is somebody from the Azimio camp. There was a senator also.
Yes, Senator Amos Wako, former Attorney General, was also in the group,
All right.
among the 3 people.
Okay, let me not mention my colleague. Now, these people, you are saying...
Excuse me. You can't choose whom to mention, whom not to mention. So if
Okay, very well. So choose the third person.
It's not me.
Very well. The third person.
The third person is Advocate Kialo Mbobu,
Yes.
who introduced himself as such. Yes.
Introduce himself as an advocate.
Yes.
Right. Now, you then say that the attempt was to discuss tallying and results.
Yes.
How did you know that this is what they wanted to discuss?
They introduced the purpose of the visit, that they wanted to discuss about the tallying and ongoing process. And I then told them if that's the case, then I'll ask the commissioners to join us in the meeting, because it's a matter then that would involve the whole commission.
Why didn't you discuss with them? They found you, they've come to see you.
The election operation is not the chairperson's operation alone. It's the commission then that would make any decision as to matters that relate to the entire election. So in all these matters that affect elections, I've always taken the liberty as chair to invite commissioners if there are issues to discuss. And this is what I adopted throughout the Boma's time and even before.
There must be a bigger reason why you didn't want to meet them alone.
3 a.m. in the morning and 3 gentlemen to discuss elections, I think that was reason enough.
That was reason enough.
Yes.
Right. And you then say that the commissioners joined you in paragraph 58, 59, and you talk because you're not operating a vacuum. I need you to say at what time did these others join you and where did they join you?
The commissioners were on the floor of the auditorium doing what they were doing, participating in the tallying and verification, and it just took a minute or 2 for them to come and join us.
So they joined you in the holding place?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Was Commissioner Irene Masit one of them?
Yes.
So she was present?
Yes, she was present.
She was present in this meeting?
Yes, I'm sure.
Now, you then go on to explain in paragraph 59 and 56, and of concern is where you talk about moderation in paragraph 60. Yes. I need you to explain what was this request and what did they mean by saying moderation?
In 59, the first to speak was Senator Amos Wako, who said that as former Attorney General, remember elections were at some point managed in the Attorney General's office, and Attorney General's office was very, very powerful as regards the election. He said we should not operate in a vacuum. We should look at the bigger picture for the country, and as former election supervisor, then when you reach this kind of situation, you can moderate results and achieve stability of the country. Then we had also Honorable Tuchu spoke. He said that it was necessary that we moderate these results in favor of Baba, and that any contrary declaration of results would plunge the country into chaos.
Okay, so because these proceedings are recorded, when you say in favor of Baba, what do you mean?
I understood Baba to mean the Asmio presidential candidate, because that's what they call him.
Who was who?
Raila Odinga.
Raila Odinga.
Yes.
So the moderation was to be in favor of Raila Odinga.
Yes.
And you then flow to the issue of runoff in paragraph 60. Can you explain?
You said that in the alternative, if it was not possible to moderate the results in that manner, then we should ensure that there is a runoff.
How?
He didn't say how. I also don't know how that would be done.
Okay, what about moderation? Did you know how it was to be done?
I had no idea how it would, because the elections reflect the will of the people, and as I said, from 34A is announced at the polling station and transmitted to the portal. So any form of moderation would not be possible.
So without sounding political, what you're saying is coming from bottom up, or from the polling station up to the National Tallying Center.
Yes, I believe if this gentleman knew the transparent system we had put in place, perhaps they would not have made this a visit. Because at the end of the day, the results were already out there in the portal. So, and any attempt to change them would result into a lot of other problems.
Well, you've just said if these guys had known what we had set up. What do you mean?
I'm saying they were talking as if the thing of the old days when we didn't have transmission of results into the portal, where elections then were not that transparent. But the systems we had put in place were such that these suggestions they were making would not be possible.
Did the Constitution of this great republic envisage or permit a situation where you could moderate results in a presidential elections?
Absolutely.
Or change to permit a runoff?
Absolutely not. Not the 2010 Constitution, and not even the previous Constitution, if I remember.
Right. Now,
yes.
As at 3 a.m. this time, had you gotten the final results after the verification of all?
We had not got the final result, but most of the verification and tallying had been done. But we had not got the final result.
So did you, as Wafula Chebukati, the chairman, know for a fact who was the winner as at this time?
I had not got the final figures, but we, of course, had the constituency results, but I did not know at this point in time who was the winner.
Right. Then, if we flow to paragraph 61, you say the advocate never made comments?
Yes, he did not say anything.
Did not say anything?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I've left out the point of being rewarded reasonably, but I'd rather go there. Let me read this statement, sir. After the talk of moderation, this is what you say. For this, he indicated that should his request be granted, it would be adequately rewarded. Who was this? And what was the reward?
This, the person who spoke these words was Rafael Tuju, and that's what he said. That we consider the request, then we shall be rewarded.
You shall be rewarded?
Yes.
Did he expound the reward?
Oh, we did not encourage him to expound the reward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let me flow on the reward and we'll come back to paragraph 62. The last part, the third last line, and I want to read for you. You say you did not want him to expound, but this is what you say. As regard the incentive, and the emphasis is the word incentive, I was categorical that I'm adequately remunerated. And here the word emphasis is remunerated. And do not want anything from anyone. Do not want anything from anyone. Professor Gulie, Commissioner Molu, supported this view. The team left. Now, was Commissioner Irene Masit part of this meeting?
Yes, she was.
How come you did not mention her as supporting you? Or was she part of the incentive? And why did you use the word incentive and remuneration, sir?
Yeah, prior to that, just to put it in context, I invited the commissioners one by one to speak on the statements from those two gentlemen who had spoken, and I spoke last. And when I was responding to it is when I said these things about remuneration, which Commissioner Molo and Professor supported the view. So the others had already spoken. The other commissioners had already spoken.
Sorry to cut you. You know, reward could be by way of prayers for you and your family, could be by way of others. There must be a reason why you use the word remunerated.
Because those were the sentiments.
Those were the sentiments.
Yeah, that's what was expressed.
Monetary.
Yes.
Monetary.
Yeah.
Right, go on.
Yeah.
Let's go on then.
So what I'm saying is all the commissioners had a chance to speak. As usual, I normally allow them to express their views in any meeting, and this was one of those meetings. So basically, the commissioner must sit alongside the other three, said that we should consider these statements from the two gentlemen very seriously.
Should consider the reward seriously.
Not the reward, the statements.
We are talking about the reward here.
About the reward, they did not say anything. The Commissioner Masi did not say anything about the reward.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was more about the request.
All right.
Yes.
But you see, you adopted this statement, this affidavit. This is an affidavit under oath.
Yes.
You are a very senior lawyer. You know the meaning of an affidavit under oath.
Yes.
You said you mentioned only two to have supported you. So the inference is the other way.
I think we need to read the whole paragraph in context. The support here from Commissioner Molo and Professor was more on the substantive issue which was raised as to whether we should moderate the results or not.
Right.
Not on the issue of reward.
So you had people who wanted to bribe technically the commissioners to subvert the will of the people.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
That is exactly what they left no doubt that was.
And you are aware, is that an offense under our penal code?
Not just penal code, even Election Offences Act.
Even Election Offences Act.
Yes.
And this, right, let me not go beyond. Let's go back to moderation. In respect to moderation and forcing a runoff, you then talked about giving the other people to have a chance to speak in paragraph 62.
Yes.
What was the position of Commissioner Irene Masit, very specific on those two?
Yes, Commissioner Irene Masit with...
Just hold on,
Yes.
Okay, we proceed.
Yes.
Just. Right. In fact, I wanted, after probably another 10, 15 minutes, we take a health break. Very well. Then we'll take a health break. Very well. Thank you very much, sir. Now, Mr. Chebukati, you know, some of us are over 50, myself and Donald here, so I think it will come shortly, the break. Now, moderation and the forcing of runoff.
Yes.
And I'm very particular on the position of Commissioner, because you say they all commented. You are in that meeting, right?
Yes.
You were in that meeting.
I chaired the meeting.
You chaired the meeting.
Yeah.
Were the guests present?
Yes, they were.
The guests were present.
Yes.
And you then asked your commissioners to comment on what these guests have asked.
Yes.
And I'm trying to understand why this was done in the presence of the guests. Can you explain?
The guests had come with a request,
Yes.
and as a team, then they needed to be responded to. So I asked each commissioner then to make their comments on those requests.
Looking at them in the eye, what was the response of
It's
Commissioner Masit?
Okay, the way we are here, we, of course, when you talk, I look at you. And Commissioner Masit agreed with the remarks of Senator Wako and Honorable Tuju.
So what was the remark of Senator Wako?
That we should moderate results.
Now, as a chair and as a very senior lawyer, did the Constitution of this great republic allow that?
Absolutely not.
What's your position then on that request?
I said that the will of the people must be respected, and we must live to the oath of our office. To me, that then were things that you don't expect, and that's why I said this then were attempts to subvert the will of the people.
So you are saying a commissioner wanted to subvert? That's what you're saying?
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Right.
Yes.
In the other issue, what was the other request?
Force a runoff.
By who?
If we then, if the presidential candidate for Asmia doesn't win, then a runoff should be forced. That was Honorable Raphael Tuju.
What was the position of, I'm very specific, Commissioner Irene Masit on that request?
She said we should consider the remarks of both Senator Wako and the Honorable Raphael Tuju.
What do you mean, expound as a lawyer?
Consider means think of agreeing, think of a way of assisting.
Get of a way of assisting.
Yes, something like that.
Now, did the Constitution allow that?
Absolutely not.
So one of your commissioners was doing what?
Sorry?
So what you're saying one of your commissioners was what? Was permitting, or trying to, agreeing with an attempt to subvert or violate the Constitution on that runoff issue?
That's what it appeared to be.
All right. Now, then, at what point did you leave? Okay. Did the guests leave? People have made their comments.
Then we finished the meeting. We told them we shall do what the law requires us to do. That's what I told them. And then they left shortly after.
So the incentive never got to anyone?
No.
Did you know where the incentive was coming from?
Where?
The incentive was coming from.
It's Tuju who mentioned it, so I don't know where it was coming from, and I didn't care to know where it would be coming from.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Now, we go to the next part, which starts with paragraph 63. You there, sir?
Yes, I'm there.
So, these visitors left, their first group of visitors left around what time? Do you remember?
Maybe around 3:30 or thereabouts. The meeting was about half an hour or 45 minutes or something like that.
3:30 or thereabout?
Yeah, so I think that we took about 45 minutes for that meeting.
For that, 45 minutes. Now, you've been woken up, 45 minutes. After they left, was there a discussion as commissioners? Because you are in a position, you say two supported you not to violate the Constitution. The other took a different position. Visitors have gone. Did you have a meeting?
I think after they left, we all got back to our work stations. I had also been woken up, so I continued working. So we did not have further discussion on the matter, and I didn't then give it much thought, really, after they left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you then, you are aware of the implication of putting these facts in an affidavit?
Yes, I was.
And you stick to these facts?
Yes, because that's the truth. That's what happened.
You stick to this fact that people wanted to you moderate?
Yes.
All right. Now, we go to paragraph 63. There's a new team of visitors. I need you to explain how did you know about this visit, and just introduction on paragraph 63.
This was on the morning of 15th. I received a call around 9 a.m. from the head of public service then, Mr. Joseph Kinyua, that a team from National Security Advisory Committee will be coming to see me and requesting me to see them. And he said they will be talking briefly about assumption of office. Later on,
the purpose of the meeting from the call was assumption of office.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Kinyua said.
Did you have any problem discussing assumption of office?
Absolutely not. I mean, I didn't know how I come in, but they wanted to discuss it, and I said, it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about whether there was an issue of assumption of office discussed. Then flow to paragraph 65 and the visit at paragraph 66.
Yes, so because of other duties we were undertaking, we said they need to wait. We managed to see them at 2 p.m. I and the commissioners met them at 2 p.m.
Where was the meeting?
The meeting took place at the CEO's office boardroom at the Bomas of Kenya. The CEO of Bomas of Kenya's boardroom.
Now, this meeting, was it attended by all commissioners? And to be specific, was Commissioner Irene Masit present?
Yes, Commissioner Irene Masit was present together with all the 5 others in this meeting.
In this meeting?
Yes.
Now, from my reading of paragraph 65 flowing to 66, it appears as though there was already an arranged, pre-planned meeting apart from the one of these visitors.
Yes, I had informed the commissioners that we should have a meeting at 2 to be briefed, or rather to look at the final results before declaration. And so we were meeting specifically to look at the results as stipulated in Form 34C, which we had asked the CEO to print and bring to the boardroom. So this was our meeting.
And in this meeting, prior to this meeting, had any of the commissioners seen Form 34C?
That Form 34C had not been printed, and none of us had seen it.
Had not been printed,
Yes.
None of you had seen it?
Yes.
Had any of you known the final results as prior to this meeting?
The final tally had not been known, disclosed to us, but all the constituency results were out there.
So all constituency results were out there?
Yes.
You mean any
We had finished tallying and verification, and the commissioners had been announcing them, and all the results were there.
When you say they are out there, because these proceedings are recorded, I need clarity. What do you mean when you say they are out there?
We mentioned the scenario of the auditorium where the tallying and verification was ongoing, and populating of Form C was happening. And so the results were there. After verification, all the constituency results were available.
In the portal or where?
No, with the commissioners, with the team, with the IEBC team.
With the IEBC team?
Yes.
Now, prior to this meeting, was there any problem amongst the commissioners?
No.
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Any disagreements? Not at all?
No.
Right. So You meet at 2 o'clock, and you are clear in paragraph 66, you wanted to declare a declaration, right? Then you, flowing to paragraph 67, you say then you decided to meet the commissioners. Kindly explain.
We decided to meet as a commission before declaration so that we can look at the final result, which we were going to declare. But before that, we then said, since we have visitors, let's attend to them first.
Right.
Yes.
Are the visitors the one mentioned in paragraph 67?
Yes.
And you said they were coming on behalf of?
The National Security Advisory Committee.
Now, you then talk about introduction, composition, deliberate selection, and the magnitude of the message. Kindly explain.
Yes, so the team leader, Mr. Kennedy Kihara, introduced the team of the form, introduced himself, and the participants, Mr. Kenneth Ogeto, Solicitor General, Mr. Hilary Mtiambai, Inspector General of Police, and Lieutenant General Francis Omondo Gola, the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces. That was the team. Yes. And he said this team has been carefully selected to come for this meeting. And he proceeded then to, after the introductions from all of us, he proceeded to deliver a message. He said they had a message for us.
Message from who?
From the NSAC, the National Security Advisory Committee.
Paragraph 69, flowing to 70, you talk about the message. Kindly explain.
Yes, the message was that if I declared the final election results in favor of Honorable William Samoei Ruto as president-elect, the country is going to burn. And he proceeded to tell us that the already skirmishes had started in the country. Kikuyus and Luos were already fighting. And he cited several slums, including Kibera and Mathare, on the basis of what he termed betrayal by the Kikuyus.
Betrayal by the Kikuyus.
That was his message, yes.
Right. Paragraph 70, he went on to caution.
He went on to caution that if we proceeded with the declaration of Honorable Ruto as president-elect and chaos erupt, then the blood of Kenyans, the blood of the dead Kenyans will be on our hands. And he said all of us, 7 of us, the commissioners and myself, will be held responsible.
Now, how did you take that message to mean to you and the commissioners?
Well, this then was obviously, this is a National Security Advisory team, the top organ of government. And a message of that nature then was outrightly a threat to the independence of the commission.
It's a threat to the independence of the commission?
Yes.
Yes.
That's how I took it. And
as at the time they
yes.
were speaking, had the final results verified been with you people?
We had not received the final Form 34C from the CEO. We were waiting for it. But as I said, these results were already out there. Remember, we had a public portal where everybody interacted with, and people did their own tallying.
So people could have done their tallying and known
yes.
who is the winner?
Yes.
But you?
The official result from 34C was not with us yet.
But as at that time, they are already telling you should not declare specific person?
Yes, yes.
All right. Now, we flow to paragraph...
So that we don't spend too much time on this. You see, you've verified the results.
Yes.
And you're doing that as per the constituencies.
Yes.
And that you had verified all the results of the constituencies.
Yes, by the morning of 15th.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and it was being done by commissioners, by your staff,
yes.
in the presence of agents,
yes,
and all those who wanted to.
Yes.
So the results were known.
Absolutely.
To that extent.
Yeah. At least the constituency results were all
Constituency
out.
results.
Yes.
And all that you needed to do was arithmetical.
There were two things that Form C, that 4C brings out. Other than the final results, it also, the system computes the number of counties a candidate has garnered, because that's important.
Yes.
And also the percentage. So that then is auto-generated by the system.
Yes.
So those then completes the Form 34C. Yeah, so that to declare a winner, you must know how many counties they have been garnered, because one needs 24 counties on the minimum to win a presidential election, and also the percentage.
No, what I'm asking is, a careful agent, okay? People who are interested in these results, and I'm sure all of those who are in the room were interested, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It was a matter of calculation.
Yes, with your calculator, you could have known the results even after 48 hours or the second or third day.
So fine, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Then you flow to paragraph 71. Then you talk of a request that was made appears similar by the earlier visitors. Can you explain?
The paragraph 71,
Yes.
the second part of the message from the NSAC delegation was that if we cannot announce Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga as the outright winner, then we must ensure there is a runoff.
Now, was there any explanation how you would ensure there's a runoff?
None was given, and up to now, I wouldn't know if that can possibly be done. As I said, results were out there. So anybody attempting to manipulate them, it will not work.
Okay. Then you say they wanted something from you, 72.
Yes, he said now that he has delivered the message, he wants a message to take back, or a response from the commission.
Right.
And so what I did is I asked the commissioners one by one what they think about that message.
Now, I need to be very specific. Commissioner Irene Masit. And first of all, was this done in the presence of the visitors?
Yes.
So your commissioners gave their comments
In
looking
the presence,
at the visitors in
yes,
the eye?
Yes.
And what was the position of Commissioner Irene Masit?
Yes, so the Commissioner Masit, alongside the others, said this message requires serious consideration, and she supported the adoption of the communication from NSAC to be considered before taking a decision on the results to be announced.
Right. Considered before doing what?
Before taking a decision on the result, as to the results to be announced.
So what does that mean?
I believe there's a preemptive action. If the results come in and they are going the way which is not anticipated by this team, then we should consider them and look for a way of doing what the request was.
So did the law or the constitution of this great republic allow what your fellow commissioner was supporting?
In fact, it's quite to the contrary.
What do you mean?
The constitution was set up to ensure that these kind of things don't happen. Remember, the commission is independent and it's about the will of the people. That's what we exist to protect.
Without going to legal maxims that we don't like, is that the commissioner wanted subversion of the will?
Well, from the expression of what they said, and saying we should consider NSAC message, that is exactly subversion of the will of the people.
Subversion of the will of the people.
Yes.
Then what happened?
The NSAC team left, and the CEO then, Mr. Marijan, brought in the Form 34C.
Oh, very well.
Yes.
We can stop there.
Yeah, we will. leave it at that. We take 15, 20 minutes break, and then we resume.
Thank you very much.
proceedings with a view of challenging the decision of the tribunal on the grounds that we shall take instructions from our clients and see to it that fair administrative action is done and is also seen to be done. But for now, we respect the decision, we'll abide by it, but we shall be, if kindly, be facilitated with the proceedings and the ruling for us to take instructions on the way forward. Thank you very much.
Yes, we shall make great effort to make sure that you are availed the proceedings and the decision in its length as soon as possible so that you can take whatever appropriate action that you seek to do. Thank you very much.
Much obliged.
Many thanks, Chair and members. With your permission, we are willing to call Mr. Wafula Chebukati as our next witness.
Chairman, before maybe Peter calls the next witness, I wanted to raise an issue on which arose from yesterday's evidence of the two commissioners, Bolu and Gulie. Mr. Chairman, if you look at the original petitions, the allegations the foundation basically of just talking generally about the press conference at Serena and maybe what happened at Bomas. And I've had an issue with those grounds as they are. But the evidence of Gulie and Bolu yesterday, Bolu yesterday, took a new tangent. If you look at the tenor of the evidence, they were saying that my client basically wanted to deny President William Ruto the presidency. And it creates a new ground. Before, there were no such grounds in the 4 petitions filed in the National Assembly. But the evidence and the line of cross-examination by Peter Munge yesterday introduced a new angle, which forces me to raise the issue of maybe actual or apparent bias by the tribunal in view of what was raised yesterday. And I need to raise the issue of bias on how it is, and just for a few minutes. Mr. Chairman, one of the doctrines of the tribunal is the doctrine, of course, of nemo judex in causa sua. A tribunal must be impartial in its sitting. Article 51 also gives my client the right that she ought to appear before a tribunal that's impartial. But now, once this angle was introduced yesterday, it endangers the liberty of my client. And I want to raise at this early opportunity. The Gazette notice that establishes tribunal, Mr. Chairman, appointed Caroline Kamende Daudi as the commissioner, as a tribunal member, and she's your vice. Emmanuel Gibet as the joint secretary, and my friend Peter Munge as the lead counsel. The way this tribunal is considered, Mr. Chairman, is the commissioners and the joint secretary and the lead counsel is one and the same. It's not like a normal court where the prosecutor is independent body. But a tribunal in its setting is that the commissioner, the commissioners, the joint secretary, and the lead counsel is one and the same. They work together. And that's the danger now, where it lies. Mr. Chairman, Caroline Kamende Daudu is actually my good friend. And she can tell you that when she was running to be the vice president of LSK, I supported her and the President Nelson Harvey, and they won. And they remain my good friends. But during the Supreme Court decision, Caroline Kamende Daudi acted for the president. and she was part of the legal team. And I know and I'm aware that my friend also, Linda Kiome, whom I'd never met before, but we've worked together before, ran for she was a deputy, she was running to be the deputy governor for Meru in a UDA ticket. My friend Emmanuel Kibet, again, I never met Kibet before until this tribunal.
Mild
But
migraines,
his business
muscle
partner,
pain,
Professor Gidure
sore throat
Kindiki, is my
pain.
friend. When Gidure wanted to begin practice, legal practice from being a professor in the university, Yekel came to see me and we had a discussion, and I assisted him in setting up his law firm. So
Presidential
he's
election
my
is
friend.
actually the
But I'd never
top
met Kibet.
of
But I now
electoral
know that
calendar.
Kibet is his legal partner.
We have MCA,
And
we
Kibet is a joint secretary in
parliamentary,
this
we have Senate, we have
tribunal.
governor, but the presidential is the
And
key,
the
is
office of the
at
president
top.
plays a very crucial role
Or you
in
don't
this
consider
tribunal.
you
He's
think
the one
it's
that
equal to being an
facilitated
MCA?
the setting up of this
Well,
tribunal,
I didn't say
and
that.
I know of my knowledge,
I mean, there's
that's the one that's still
more-
financing the tribunal.
It's of course in terms of.
Lastly, my
arrangement,
friend
it's the
Peter
first
Munge, whom I've
presidential
known
election, then
forever since I began
the
practice,
others.
is a partner of
President
my
is the symbol of
classmate,
national unity.
Honorable
He's the
Muriu,
chief executive
who is
of
the
country.
MP for
You can't
Gatanga.
compare to any other seat.
I've done so much work with also Muriu as lawyers
Do you?
in different transactions.
Well, I didn't say that. I'm not
Muriu,
saying I didn't say that. Yeah.
other than being the UDA MP for Gatanga,
Just
is a
an example. When you were
legal
importing
secretary of UDA. And he was also
when
part of
you
the
were
legal team for the
procuring
president in the Supreme
electoral
Court.
papers and materials from Greece.
Peter comes from that law firm.
Did you have a plenary meeting
So
of the
my
commission?
issue, Mr. Chairman, seeking your
Was addition-
guidance,
was addition,
I'm not
was it made
asking
in
that
the-
they
in
step
the
down,
plenary?
but I'm inviting them
Yes.
to examine their
Do you have
conscience
minutes?
The procurement.
and whether
it started,
they will
procurement
give my
started
client
way
impartial
back. And,
hearing and justice,
a lot of things.
that they will not be biased.
There are minutes of the.
Some could be actual biased, like my friend
commission
Caroline
on
Dawood,
every
because she was part of the legal
electoral
team.
process activity.
But
I
from
don't have minutes.
Linda, Peter,
Yeah, so long as you confirm,
and
you know, because I
Emmanuel,
say
it could be
interviews.
apparent bias.
One time we'll get to know.
Because they were
For now,
indirectly
I need to
associated
confirm
with
from you,
UDA.
because you're under oath.
But
You're telling us
Ms.
that
Dawood was directly associated with
the
UDA.
commission as a whole approved the procuring the
Mr.
equipment
Chairman,
from Greece.
Julia
Commission.
Caesar
The seven commissioners,
everyone knows Julia
including
Caesar.
you.
It's one of the greatest
The commission will
members
not
ever in
appoint
history.
the.
His wife,
service
Pompey,
provider. It's not
there were
our-
rumors in Rome
I know, but it comes.
that
the
his
work
wife
of,
was sleeping with a
management.
nobleman.
I understand
There
that,
was no
Chairman.
evidence.
Okay, give us how does procurement
But
of
Julius
like
Caesar divorced
election
his
material,
wife
which is actually
because he
key.
said
How does it,
the
how
emperor's
does it
wife
separate from
must be
the
above
procurement
suspicion.
until the commission?
So I'm asking Mr.
Sorry,
Chairman that
Does
if
the
there is
commission have any
suspicion
role in
by the public
in such?
that
Does it approve? Does it
Ms. Daudi,
comment?
Linda, Peter,
Or
Emmanuel
you just read in the
will be
media
biased
that
against my client.
IEBC imported
Because
materials from Greece. Even yourself, Chairman.
There's evidence from yesterday
be
is that Ms.
specific
Irene Masit
on,
wanted to stop
Greece.
President
Yes.
William Ruto from
The
being president.
commission
This is a
approved the
great danger, Mr. Chairman.
specifications for
I seek
the
your guidance and directions.
ballot papers, that they should have 8 security features
listen to you.
and all that.
One,
and then
you are
ask
saying
management
that even
to
as you say
proceed
the
and
many things you
procure
say,
in accordance
first of all, is
with the law.
evidence which shouldn't be coming from
And,
you.
then what does
you
the
can swear an
commission do?
affidavit because you're
it's
saying
the
you have
work of
personal
management
knowledge of these
procure.
things.
So we do our oversight role.
So ideally, one should
In
have
every
seen
other meeting,
an
we ask
application
management give us
for
progress report.
recusal,
And at the
but you are
point in
saying,
time,
I've just listened to you,
we had
you
sent
don't want
commissioners
recusal,
and
but you're asking
team
that
to
people should
Greece.
just
We'll come
examine
to
their
that.
conscience
So
We'll come to
gently.
that, Chairman.
Yes.
Let's go in
So
sequence.
we leave it
So
at
once the
examining
company were shortlisted
conscience.
for printing the
But,
materials, was the
I think,
evaluation report
Mr.
brought to the commission?
Donald,
No.
either
That is still part of
you
procurement, and the
want
evaluation report
recusal or you
given
don't
to
want.
the CEO by the director of procurement.
Because what would be the
So
reason
you
of
are telling
saying the
me,
things that you are
other
saying?
than you approving the
But
specifications
secondly-
for the voting
Secondly,
materials, you never played a part
at what point
in any way.
does
you
it
just
become
had
known
the
to you?
CEO as
And I've just been
appointed
listening
the
to
Greek
you.
company.
You said you know Munge, you say you
Lycos
know Linda,
to
you say you know
bring the
you,
materials.
you know Kamende,
We
you
know we
know
have the
all these people.
Procurement Act.
At what point
Public Disposal
does
Act,
it
and don't know, we
start
also have
appearing
the-
to you
The
that
public,
there's bias?
the finance,
But more important,
the act which
and I've
deals
just
with
told
the-
Danson,
Understand, Chairman?
So
You
now,
know, the
issue of
evidence that
procurement
is tendered
starts with
here
the specs
If
up
it doesn't
to the
relate to
signing of the
petitions
contract. And that's what
that were
done by
filed
management,
and
it's
the
not
grounds
commission.
in the
So, Chairman,
in the,
Yes.
in,
how
in-
come on
in the
6th of July
petitions.
you announced
It's just that, isn't it? Because
those
we are
materials arriving
limited
tomorrow on 7th of
in
July?
our
without telling
dealing
anyone?
with the questions at hand
So
on
how-
what is it
how were you
that
involved?
was
Why did you
complained
tell
against your client
the country
and whether
that
those
materials are arriving
complaints
tomorrow
have
and
been
the commissioners
substantiated
did not- my
sufficient
client did
enough
not
for
about
us
it.
to make a determination one
She
way or
read,
the other
she
by way of
watched on
recommendation.
TV, you telling the country
So
materials
I
are
hear
arriving
you to be
yesterday.
saying,
So why did you announce it? If you're not
examine
giving it the
your
role of the
conscience.
CEO?
You don't represent Kenyans, you
The
represent a
chairperson
client,
of
a
the
specific
commission,
client
and this
who has
is
a
now
name.
in accordance
Yeah.
with the,
So that we can make progress,
the
I
governance
will
of
ask
the
that we proceed.
structures.
But
He's the
your point
spokesman
has
of
been
the
made,
commission.
Council.
Matters election, then the country
Mr.
would
Chairman, you asked
expect
me when
to
I
hear from
said-
the
I
chairperson.
never-
No, I don't want
those-
us to get into
the
that
announcements you're
discussion. I
talking
was
about,
just saying,
No, because you're asking
information
me.
came from
I wasn't asking because I
having
want,
ballot papers
it's
arriving,
rhetorical.
and it's important to
Wow.
inform the country.
I want us to proceed.
So, Chairman, you know, want to understand something.
Thank you, Chair. We
You're the
also
chairman of
taken
the
aback
commission.
by,
Yes.
you know,
You're not
political
involved
statements at times made for
in
purpose
the
of headline
actual
tomorrow, but we are ready
procurement, I
with our
mean,
witness.
in making a decision on who is to print our ballot
Chairman, they're
papers,
not political
which is
statements.
key, actually, because we have to
I
get
am
the correct
saying they are not political
papers,
statements.
the
They arose from
correct
yesterday's
company.
evidence.
But
So, yeah.
you want to take the role of being media, the spokesman. You want to tell us they
When you
arrived
sat and
tomorrow.
reflected on that
Yet
evidence, because the evidence
you didn't care
was
which
being
company was
tendered
given,
in your
whether it
presence,
came from,
you could simply have said,
Saudi Arabia or
stop
Uganda,
that
you
evidence
didn't
because
care
it's not
where it came
contained in the
It
petitions.
is not
Isn't
true
it?
that we didn't
You sat
care.
through,
As I said,
you let it come
procurement
through,
is a
and
function
then
of
now,
management,
a day
and we
later, you're
played our
saying,
oversight role
let's go back to that
by
evidence. If you want it
getting updates
expunged from
from
record,
management
you'll
by
make an
sending
appropriate application in
commissioners,
that regard.
including
Thank you.
Commissioner Irene Masid to Greece to oversight the process. So we were part and parcel of the whole process, and we played our oversight role.
On 6th of July, you announced the materials are coming on 7th of July.
Yes.
Do you know the date you sent the commissioners to Greece?
I don't have the dates, I can't
It was
remember.
22nd of July.
There were various trips. There was an earlier trip done by Commissioner Masid, Commissioner Nyangaya, and Commissioner Professor. That was way before July. In fact, I think maybe around June. And then there was a second trip by Commissioner Wanderi and Vice Chair and other stakeholders, which was done later for presidential elections. So there were two distinct trips. That the evidence
When you postponed the elections in some parts of the country,
shall be the truth.
did you involve the commissioners?
So help me God. We had a meeting.
Do we have the minutes, Chairman?
Mr. Chair, members.
Do they have?
Do we have, will
our
we
last witness
one day
is
get the
Mr.
minutes of that
Wafula,
meeting that postponed the elections?
It
Chebukati,
was
the immediate
one of those meetings we had
Chair
in
of
Bomas,
IEBC.
one of the many meetings that
For the
were
record,
not minuted.
there are 3 lawyers who are present.
So, Chairman, you
Mr.
meet
Eric Gumbo, Mahat
From-
Somani.
mundane issues, but when it comes to the real
watching brief.
issues, real obligation, duties of IEBC, like postponing elections, we don't have minutes.
There could be minutes, I can't recollect.
Okay.
But I think the CEO, the custodian of minutes, can attest to that.
For any of those meetings in Bomas on 15th of August, do we have minutes of any of the meetings? Of all, you were there for about a week. Are there minutes of any of the meetings?
Yeah, there are some. I remember there were certain meetings which had minutes, like there were some meetings
Kindly,
on
sir,
ICT.
could you
There are some
kindly
which have
introduce
minutes.
yourself,
They can
full
be
names,
produced.
and up to, I think, a few days ago, what was your position in IEBC?
Yes, thank you. Chair, my name is Wanyonyi Wafula Chebukati. I
You don't have a
was
copy of Elections
appointed
Act, yeah?
to the IEBC
I
as
don't have.
chairperson on
Peter, do
the,
you have a copy? You don't
by Gazette notice dated
Give me mine.
18th
Just give me
January
the-
2017,
38.
and assumed office on the
Just give it.
20th of January 2017 after swearing in. And my assignment as
read
chairperson
section 38,
ended
1C.
on the 18th of January this year.
Thank
It's
you very
not a
much.
long one, just
And,
38,
Mr.
1C.
Fuller, in
The
terms
one
of your
at the bottom,
profession,
it's the sequence,
kindly
the
don't
sequencing of
explain
elections.
your
It
profession
doesn't have that 8 1
prior to being chair
There's
of
one
IEBC,
C
what
there,
you've been doing for a
validated.
living.
That 8
Yes,
is
Just one
I'm
small
a lawyer by profession, having
talks of
qualified and
39.
signed the role of
Yeah, 39
advocate on the 17th of November 1986.
39(1)(c) for
thereafter
purposes of a
I
presidential
practiced
election,
law,
the commission
uh,
shall
for a period of
electronically
about 30 years
transmit in
before
a
joining
prescribed
the
form the
commission
tabulated results of an
in,
election for the
various law
president
firms.
from a polling station to the
Right.
constituency
And,
tallying
so
center
you allow of about
and the
37
national
years of
tallying
practice.
center.
I've
B,
36 practice
tally and verify
36
the
years.
results
Thank you.
received at the national
you very
tallying
much, sir.
center.
Yes, yeah.
Now, you
C,
remember
publish
swearing an
the
affidavit,
polling
an
result
affidavit,
forms
a
on an
statement
online
rather, before
public
this
portal
tribunal,
maintained
and, you
by
can
the
kindly
commission.
take
And
us
the
in page
next
1
page,
of
the role of the chairman.
chair and members, volume
1D.
2 of the
Yeah,
bundle
the
of
one
the
about the role of
statements.
the chairman there is
Page
announcing,
number 1.
declaring the
Yes,
results.
I saw a statement
See,
dated
there's the next
13th
page.
December
The
role of the
chairperson,
2022.
1D, the chairperson of the
For
commission
purpose of
shall
filing
declare the
this
results of
tribunal.
the election of the president
and
in
that
accordance with
statement,
Article
I
138(10)
want
of
to
the
go through
Constitution
it just very briefly, then we
before
went to go to the
determining
other
and declaring the
documentations.
final
And
results
at
of
the
an
time
election
you were
and the
swearing this
subsequent one, the
statement,
commission may announce
were
the
you still in
provisional
office
results
in the commission?
of the election.
Yes, I was still in the commission as a chairperson.
As a time, you're still the
Yes.
the chairperson.
So,
Yes.
Chairman, in a nutshell,
Looking
the
at
Elections Act gives a
statement,
very
you
sequential
annexed
order
a letter,
of
page
how
number
presidential
2.
elections are held.
Yes.
Number one,
and kindly explain so that it's clear you not just
the elections of the
come to
polling
the
station
chat mode to
Yes.
fellow
are in the prescribed
former
form.
commissioners.
Yes.
Yes,
Form
I
34A.
received a letter
Yeah.
from
Then from there it
yourself,
goes to the constituency level
requesting,
in the
I
prescribed
and
form.
the commissioners
34B.
from the IEBC to come and
Then to the
be witnesses in
the
this,
tallying center, NTC
proceedings.
now at Bomas.
And
When now
I
you
responded
tally
by
and
this
verify
letter
the results.
dated
Tally and
13th
verify the
December
results.
2022.
And
Do I
then
read the letter?
the next sequence
Page
is
number 2, the same
you
document.
publish
Just look.
the results
Yes,
from
Yes, you see that-
34C
that's your response.
in the
This is my
format
response.
on the
Very
online
well.
public
And,
portal.
Uh,
And then the last
let's go
stage is
back to your
the
statement,
chairperson
sir.
of the commission declares the
I'm
results.
looking at
Are we together with the sequencing?
Yep.
paragraph 4.
And you've given us
You
your training manual.
said you
Remember
would
your manual you gave
rely
us the
on 3
the
affidavits.
pathway,
What are
the
those 3
elections
affidavits?
pathway.
Yes.
The three affidavits
it's one
I
of it.
said
One
I
of
rely
your
on is
own
the
manual
one,
is that you must receive
number
the
one,
actual fiscal
ones
forms,
one on
34A
26
and B,
August 2022
and for reconciliation for
and filed
tallying
on
and verification.
27th August 2022 in presidential election
So on
petition
15th of
number
August,
E005 of
had you received all these
2022.
forms, 34A
Now,
and
as
B?
you answer, look at the
Yes,
big volume.
forms that 4A,
Members, volume 4,
as we said, they
page number
were
202.
electronically transmitted to the
Confirm
portal.
that
Yes.
is the affidavit.
Almost, I think one or
Starts at
two,
page
the ones which
202.
were not, a wrong form was transmitted, but about two did not go
Goes
there.
all the way to 228.
And then we had all the returning
for the
officers, the 290 constituencies had brought the fiscal form that 4S to
Sorry,
Bomas of Kenya.
sorry, it's the one
and
on
also
353,
we had
sorry,
the returning officer
353,
291.
the Raila
For diaspora, had
353.
received all the returns from the diaspora. So by the morning of 15th, we had received all the 34As and Bs at the Bomas of Kenya.
Yes, this is the affidavit
let's go to-
E005 of 2022.
This is the
15th of
affidavit
August,
in
which is important for us.
E005.
Yes.
This is the case
At 3
of
a.m. in the morning.
the
The Raila
When those
Odinga
three
and
gentlemen
Mother
came.
Wangari Karua
Yes.
and the IEBC.
Now,
How
we
did
go
you call
to
the other commissioners? Were they
page
just present? Were they around?
308.
Yes, the commissioners were all over the floor of Bomas
Same
following up
affidavit, you saw
verification
it on
and
which day?
tallying.
So how did you summon them?
I sent somebody.
That's beneath paragraph 117.
Physical, send someone to, how would you trace people all over the place?
I think
Three,
the CEO was there.
after paragraph
He just went and
117
called them and
beneath
they
it.
came.
The place where you
So-
saw the affidavit and signed.
But this time, 3 a.m.,
Yes,
results, you didn't have the results.
Date is 26th day of
The
August
tallying
2022.
and verification
Yes.
was still
Now,
Was
on
let's
the
go
on
back
the
to your
floor.
statement, the second affidavit.
So when,
The second affidavit sworn
so
on
again, what was the
27th
message
August
from,
2022
from the
and
three gentlemen? What do they want?
filed on an even date, that's the same date, being presidential election petition
They
number
said we
E002
should,
of 2022.
Now,
Consider
go to the big bundle, page
declaring
number 1.
the Asmeo presidential candidate
One,
as the winner.
all the way to page
and
number
in the worst
34,
case scenario,
confirm that that
we,
is the affidavit.
we look at a way of moderating results.
Yes, this is
So
the
that
affidavit
is
filed
an
in
no.
the.
Chairman, you
in
know you're a
that
lawyer, you're
matter
the
is
chairman of the commission.
002.
Right. The third
At 3 a.m.,
affidavit.
there were no results. No one knew, at least, no
This
one,
is the one
did
sworn
you know
on
who the winner was
27th
at 3 a.m.
August
in the morning?
2022 and filed before
no,
the
we had not
Supreme
been
Court
given
on
the
the
that
same
foresee.
date, that
So,
is the
how will a discussion
27th
to
of August.
declare
In
someone a
presidential
president
petition, election
arise, Mr.
petition
Chairman?
number
I want to understand.
E003
So
of
that's what they said.
2022.
Right.
That was a message.
Now,
That's what I
look
had.
at page 202. 202. and
Commissioner
the-
Irene must actually
is the
speak.
cover page. 203
spoke.
is the first
Do you
page
remember?
of the
Yes.
affidavit.
What was our, what were our words?
Deponed on the
She
on
said
page
we should
227, that is
look
the
at
affidavit.
That this is the affidavit.
what the
Thank you.
gentlemen have said
Now-
seriously we should consider.
Say,
You're aware
consider.
that the
Message here.
matter was concluded before the dispute that was before the Supreme Court was
Was
concluded,
Yes, I'm aware.
and you are no
Nyang'aya
longer
present
chairman.
at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Yes, I
Another?
exited.
On
You
that day,
exited,
that 3 a.m. in the
yes.
morning. Was
That's
he
a good
present?
service, sir. Thank you. Now,
Nya-
do the
eh,
facts change,
Nyang'aya.
or do you rely on the same facts?
To my recollection, all
I rely on the
commissioners
same
were
facts,
present.
exactly as
My information
stated
was
in
that
the
he was
affidavit.
asleep. He
In
hadn't
this
even
matter,
woken
your
up.
word is different from the dispute before
Are
Supreme
you sure he was
Yes,
there
I'm
that,
aware.
that day?
Thank you very much.
What
Now,
my
you said
recollection is
you
that all
appointed
commissioners were
as
present.
commissioners persons to article, a specific article
Just
of the
wondering, if
Constitution.
you can't remember that Nyang'aya had actually not woken
You
up,
have
he
the
was not there.
Constitution?
How will
No,
you
I
be able
don't
to
know.
remember what's chairman? Because he'll come here one day, I mean, another sitting, he'll say that he was never there, and he will actually show he
I'll give
wasn't
you
there
that.
that morning of
Come
3
back
a.m.,
to-
and you're saying he was there.
But what I recollect is all commissioners were present. I think that's my recollection, and that's what I've about.
Do you know
The IBC is
the legal meaning
constituted
of
persons to
consider?
article, I believe, 88.
Article 88 of the
Dictionary meaning of consider.
Constitution, 884 is
You don't-
what
you're a lawyer.
constitutes IEBC.
what does it mean to
It
consider?
constitutes the IBC.
Yes.
Well, it
as
just means what
commissioners,
it
are you
says. Consider.
constitutional
I'll think
office
about it.
holders
I
or
need
what?
to take it
Yes, we
seriously.
are constitutional office holders.
I don't know the exact
among the
dictionary
Chapter
meaning.
15
The words given
commissions.
in the dictionary.
Right.
Chairman, you know, as a lawyer, when someone, when a layman says
Article
compound, it means
248,
compound.
249, 250.
But when a lawyer says compound, it means something else, compound. The same spelling, but different meaning.
Does
And
that
consider,
apply to
once the
IBC?
tribunal is done today's hearing, they'll go and consider.
Yes, it's
This
Article
hearing, they're going to
249
consider.
applies to the
That
IEBC.
you give some
Yes.
weight to
Article
thought
250,
to
sub-article 9.
something. I believe that's what it means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are,
Says,
so
and I'll read,
the meaning of consider
a
is
member
not
of
to
a commission or
particular
holder of an independent
decision, but
office
think through.
is not
Ponder.
liable for anything.
Yes,
And
if
I
the issue
emphasize
requires, so
done
there are some issues you
good
don't consider, like
in
the
the
one, the
performance
discussions
of
on
a function,
at 3 a.m. in the morning.
of a
Those
function
issues
of
are not
office.
worth
You're
considering.
aware of
So
that.
at least,
provision.
so, which you are correct. So at least at 3 a.m. we know there were no results.
You are aware then that Article 259
The next, when
is the basis under
you
which
met
this
the
tribunal
next committee people, what time was it?
constituted and appointed.
It
When they
was
com-
at 2 p.m. on
Yes,
15.
I'm aware.
The
Now-
NCAC people.
Yes, and
Is-
yes.
Are you,
that's
as
correct.
commissioners, liable
So
for
at that time,
acts
again, you
where
didn't have the
found
results.
not to- They're not in good faith?
We had not received the Form 34C. It was still being
I've
printed
read
by
Article
the CEO.
214.
So there were no results again.
59.
Yes.
What of acts done?
We had not received
not,
the Form
not
34C,
in
but
good faith?
all the results had
Well,
been
then,
tallied and verified.
one has to take
all the
responsibility
consequences.
for their actions.
You
If
told
you
us
act
that
in bad faith
this
against the
group
oath
of
of
people,
office, then you take responsibility for
They-
that action.
Is it
they
whole
looked
responsibility of the
threatening
commission
and
or personal
they basically
responsibility?
threatened you. I mean, you looked threatened, you felt threatened and
You take personal
intimidated.
responsibility?
Yes,
No, they
Very
didn't
well.
look threat. It's
Now-
a message.
Or is a message?
The message they carried.
I want to
And they said we should look at
go
them
through
carefully to see the
the facts
composition of
that
who
you
they were.
deponed in the affidavit.
So, Chairman,
One
you've been the
slowly,
chair
and
for
we'll go to the
5
big
plus
bundle,
years, about 6 years,
Volume 4,
senior lawyer,
and I'll deal with the first
and
affidavit.
you felt
The
threatened, or
one
there
of
was.
Youth Advocacy
were
Africa,
threatening.
and
My
Mr.
client
Chebukati
has
as
hardly been there
petitioners.
for a
You
year.
have that?
yes, I have it.
Now,
So,
you are
from
aware
your
of
own
the issues
perception,
in this petition?
how do you think she was feeling?
I
Threatened?
We'll of course listen to the,
She didn't care. I mean,
the
'cause
petitions.
if the chairman is threatened, she will. What about
perused
the other
them,
commissioners?
briefly, and I'm aware of some of the issues.
Some of the
It
issues.
may not be all, yeah.
You have a team
And
of
in
people
this
working in
affidavit,
with a message.
if I'm correct, you talked about
And,
the conduct of elections.
The message
the
was such that
processes
first you don't
that
expect
led
such
to
a
and
message
the system
in a
and all
democracy, a
that
country ruled
relates
by
to
a rule of
the
law.
elections.
And I agree with you on that, Chairman.
Right.
Yes, then the
And I
secondly,
will then
they are telling
not then
you
rely
this
on
is
that
a message
I'll
from
go to
the
the
National
second
Security Advisory
affidavit.
Committee. Of course,
Khalifa
it's a threatening message, but as to whether I was threatened or not,
I'm there.
You're there.
I think that's,
Starts
is
on
that your
page
question?
2 or 3.
No, you told me that. Okay,
Now,
maybe I rephrased
The
it.
message which was threatening.
Yeah, the message was threatening.
Yes.
To you.
But for me, I just did my work. Of course, I was not
I
threatened.
imagine I agree with you, Chairman,
If
that
you
you did
look
your
at
work. What I'm just
pages,
saying is
yes.
about the effect of the
talked about
words that
procurement.
they were threatening. The words were threatening.
Yes.
That's what you
Not
said. The
related
words
to
were
the
threatening.
tribunal. Page
Yes,
209,
because of the nature of
talk
the
about
message
voter
and the
registration.
team that came with it.
And I'm saying you,
Page
as being a chair for 6
210,
years, and
you
the
talk
words were
about
threatening,
voter education.
so you can imagine
Page
the
211,
effects of
you
the
talk
same
about
words of the
technology.
same people on Commissioner Irene Masidi, who's been
Page
there for just a year.
211 to
I think she can speak for herself. I
I'm
don't know
just
how
saying, I'm just
she
saying, yeah,
felt.
your position, yeah.
Yeah.
and tally.
By that time, we didn't have results.
Now, all
And
until around paragraph 64,
Marjan walked in
no
at
point does it
first,
appear
let's-
to be a disjointed
let's go back.
commission or a dispute
When you appointed
amongst commissioners. Kindly confirm
Guliye
or explain.
to be the head of the presidential tallying
As
process,
in relation
and the other
to
commissioners to
all these
various roles.
processes
Yes.
that
Did you have a
happened
plenary meeting with the
up to
commissioners?
And after, I mean,
We
after
did not
election,
have
Yes.
a plenary
yes,
meeting.
there
I
was
think
no
we had-
disjointed
It
commission.
was some
We worked
informal
as, a
meetings.
commission following
But
the
issues
law
of
and,
appointment to tasks
the procedures
is,
laid down.
is basically even for
We go then
meetings,
to
I mean,
paragraph
subcommittee meetings,
71.
somebody has
Where
to steer
now
the ship.
we start seeing
And
So,
as a
Chairman, you don't-
chairperson, you
amongst
must give guidance
within.
in any
So
You
organization.
don't call the commissioners
Yes.
at the only 6 and you
Yes.
tell them, I'm giving you this
71
role, I'm giving you
on
this
the
role.
date of the
Because my
15th
client tells me that
of
she
August
didn't even know until
2022.
when they arrived in Bombers what role,
But-
commission has been
so
given.
prior
So
to
she got her own
15th
letter and
August,
everyone got their own letter
How
and it
was
was
your
like
relationship
confidential
as
letter.
commissioners, and in
So they didn't even
particular
know
with
what roles they've been
Commissioner
given.
Irene Masidi?
That's how you did it.
I assigned
As
the
a
commissioners
commission,
roles to
we
which I believed would
were,
be,
of course,
help us to
appointed
manage the
from
Bomas
2017.
operations.
The team chair
And
and 6
I believe
commissioners.
that each of them
4 of them
did their role. They
resigned
did
and,
complain that I don't
we
want to
were
do this role, give me another role. Nobody complained.
Then we proceeded to work.
But you appointed
and we were joined by
Guliye
4
and
commissioners
Marjan,
on
who's
the
CEO, to be basically
2nd
in
of
charge of
September.
presidential elections, the tallying and the verification process.
2021.
Because you made them alternate
And,
team
of
leaders.
course, when they
which is
came in,
law
we
again is
brought them up to
alternate is
speed.
equal.
And
It's basically
we worked
co-equal.
very well.
And
The
Guliye admitted
relationship was
yesterday.
good. I ran an open door policy as
what's the
the chair.
question?
So I'm saying,
and any commissioner
basically you
issue,
made
including
Marjan
Commissioner
and
Masih,
Guliye have
always
equal
walked my
roles
office if there
in
was
the
an
presidential
issue, so
tallying
there were
process.
no problems.
Thank you. Now, I've read through
They
from
were
from
co-chairs.
paragraph 71.
What we
all
needed at
through
Bomas
and the
was
issues,
a
and I
team
believe
that can
let's
deliver.
tackle them in the affidavit in
to,
the case of Raila Odinga.
Marjan is the
was there
CEO
to
and
expound
professor.
further. So
They
let's go
each
to the
have
third
a
affidavit.
contribution. The Marjan manages the management and professor is a commissioner. So I don't think there was anything wrong with
And
that.
we'll deal
Where were the officers at Bomas of Marjan and Guliye?
your
Officers.
start
Yeah, yeah. Where were they?
The
By
Bomas
your
structure
introduction, paragraph 1 and
is
2.
that there was no office
And you
for
talked about your
commissioners.
position
They
in
were all,
paragraph 2.
all sitting
Clarify
in
that position.
one common room. There was only an office for Marjan and
Yes, in
myself.
paragraph 2, I stated
So the
that
commissioners were all sitting in the
my
boardroom or
capacity
in
as chairperson of the commission,
a
I was
VIP
the
room.
returning officer for
Guliye told us he
presidential
never announced the
election held
results
on the
because he
9th
was
of
busy
August
throughout.
2022.
It was?
He was busy in the
And
tallying and the verification
you
process. So
have
where
put
was he?
a bit-
Because he wasn't there. At least if we watch all these videos of Bomas, we wouldn't see Guliye until the last day. So where was he all that time? What room was he in?
The Bomas structure
More of
within
a
the main
returning
auditorium,
officer,
they're holding rooms.
Yeah.
Presidential
And then there's
is
a
just
VIP
one
room.
election,
Yeah.
but we
So
have
commissioners were
other
oscillating
returning
between
officers
each
running
of
all
those,
the 6 elections we
I'm asking about
we
Guliye.
carry
Where was
on.
Guliye Because he was
returning
he was a
officer's
team
job
leader
is
for
to ensure that
tallying and
all
verification.
the
Where was he
processes
situated?
relating to
I'm just
elections from
telling
nomination.
you, there were no
up to
officers for
nomination
commissioners. The
of
way we have
candidates
in
up to
advisory towers,
declaration of
each commissioner
results
has an
is
office.
Yeah.
At Bomas, there are no
emphasis
offices for
is on the
commissioners.
presidential
We had the main auditorium,
returning
which is an open space,
So what
and
was
a
your
holding room, and that's
presidential
where the
returning
commissioners
officer?
were sitting, mainly in the holding
Alongside
room.
the commission,
It's only the CEO
distinct roles
and myself who had
involved,
an office now on the other side.
nomination
the
of
administrative
candidates,
block.
issuing candidates
Chairman,
certificates
you're telling us that
to be enable them contesting
when you had visitors at
as
3 a.m.
well
in
as
the morning,
declaration, final declaration of results.
And final declaration.
and when you're the National Security Advisory Council at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you summon the commissioners to come and meet visitors at 3 a.m.
Not
or
that
2
I
p.m.
know of. There's no
Yes.
such legal
But
requirement.
you don't
and
have the
it's
same,
to be a recipe for chaos if
diligence
that were the case.
And in
to
this
summon
case,
commissioners
being the returning officer for
to
the
discuss the issue of
presidential
tallying
elections,
and verification of
were you
presidential
working
elections.
in last
The actual
or
work of
assisted
the
by a
commission,
commissioner or
to
staff?
tell them,
Because I
Commissioner, so and so,
believe
this is your role,
you're
this is
not
your
a
role.
one-man
But
team.
to
Yes,
meet visitors,
I worked very
you-
closely with
you
the
call them
commission,
from wherever they are
commission
doing
being
to come and meet visitors
the
at 3 a.m. in the
secretariat
morning.
and the
Let
commission.
me say this, the duties you are
Right,
referring
let's
to
jump
were meant to
all the way up
prepare
to paragraph
the
12.
tallying center
That
for
12 and
the
13,
tallying and
you did
declaration of
introduce
results.
when the
Issues, the
Commissioner
duties you are,
Irene
but
Masip was
all
appointed.
commissioners
Yes,
And I
participated
believe
in
you
the
had
tallying
already
and
mentioned the
verification,
date
and
there.
they were free to,
Yes.
Which
to
was,
go
I
wherever
believe,
they
1st
wanted within the
September
premises.
of Gazette notice
So
was
it's
1st September, but I
issues
remember
now
there
when
was
you
one
say
in
about
office
allocation
there
of
was one in
duties,
office on 2nd September,
uh,
and reported on duty on that
the
day.
chairperson,
She
and
reported
in any
on
organization, somebody has to allocate duties.
I agree.
And you cannot sit and decide, discuss
After
now.
that, her
Everybody will
appointment
say
with
they
the
want
rest
this
was
particular
the
function. Then
commission
you
fully
end up with
constituted?
Yes.
a lot of problems. So
Right.
as a chairperson, as a leader of an organization, you must steer the ship.
Commission,
You must
you
allocate.
confirmed
Come to
that
that,
you
Chairman.
are
Yes.
constitutional office holders.
Yes, we were
So at
until
3,
when
no,
we
at
exited office.
4,
And there are specific
PM on 15th of
expectations
August.
for
You
as
summon the
constitutional-
commissioners.
when
Then
you are
Marjan
constitutional
walks in.
office holders.
Yes.
in your own affidavit, you
Right.
said he
And
gave
you are
copies
aware
of
that the
the final results to each
Article
commissioner.
259, 251.
That's what the affidavit
Of the
says.
Constitution.
He gave copies to each commissioner
Yes.
of the results.
Now,
And remember,
I
Chairman,
want
you're
us
the
to
chairman of
go
IEBC.
briefly
Yes.
And you know the meaning
on
of results is not
grounds
the results of
that
a
were
screen.
set out
That's
in
not what the law
affidavit
says.
And were reiterated.
So
in
is
the
it your position
petitions
still that
filed before the tribunal?
Marjan gave every
We'll go to
commissioner the
part
results?
3 of the affidavit from paragraph 36.
He handed over to me, then I passed copies to all
that's
the
the
commissioners.
affidavit.
You said a copy to each commissioner. Is that your position, Chairman?
Yeah, every commissioner was given a copy.
Copy of the results.
Copy
How many
of the
pages? Each
results.
commissioner was given how many pages of results?
And emphasis is,
Pages
on,
of
is only on
results.
the presidential
There was
elections.
one from
Now,
34C. We
36,
printed one copy of
38.
about
You are
450
talking
pages
about
of thereabouts,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the summarized version of the
36,
results.
So what
we
copy
are
did
saying
you,
the
what you
presidential
said you gave a
election
commissioner
results
each
were
copy? You know,
relayed and
that's English.
transmitted
You
to
gave
the
a commissioner
National Tallying Center
each
as
commissioner a
outlined
copy.
in the
So what
results
copy did you give to each commissioner?
What copy?
published
Yes,
by
it's
the
a
The
summary.
summarized,
pursuant
the
to
summarized copy.
Section
The 3-page
39
copy.
Yes.
and Regulation 87.
This, you're talking about the issue of
So,
transmission all the way
I'm
to
just trying to
paragraph
get you the
13.
copy. It's actually
Yes.
in the affidavit.
Now,
but I'm
when
checking the copy.
all
So
this was
it's a
on
3-page copy.
the issue of transmission, was there any dispute amongst the commissioners?
On the issue of transmission,
Yes.
there was no dispute. This results path was approved by
Just
the
confirm
commission.
to the
I
tribunal that this
remember
is a
in a
copy.
plenary meeting we
each
had
commissioner
somewhere
was
in
given.
Mombasa,
Yes.
and it was published.
It was published.
Yes, and transmission then went on without
Is that
any
a copy,
problem,
Mr.
and
Chairman?
there was no issue.
And the transmission went on until which day?
Yes, this is the one.
That's the one.
Well, transmission of Form 34As commenced immediately after polling and counting.
Just-
And I think within
just-
the
no, just let him
48
have it.
hours after the 9th of August,
look
we
at,
had almost 99.8 transmission.
Just look at the information. Just tell them-
99.8%.
Yeah, 99.98% transmission of Form 34As happened within 48 hours from polling and counting.
Was there any breaches of the law in respect to the issue of transmission?
Not that I'm aware of.
Was there any issue or dispute raised by Commissioner
Chairman,
Irene
sorry, we're
Masit?
taking our time, but this is
Not
crucial
that I'm
because
aware
it's
of.
Right.
actually
We
what's
move,
important
sir,
for...
to part 4, which starts at paragraph 39. And you then introduce a place called Bomas of Kenya.
It's
Kindly tell us
volume
what was Bomas
2,
of Kenya, was it ever gazetted, and why?
157.
Yes, as we know, our officers at advisory towers don't have sufficient space. A presidential election being a huge operation, we then,
Mr. Chairman,
the Commission
Chairman,
procured the Bomas of Kenya as
So,
a tallying center. And after the procurement, then we officially gazetted it as a national tallying center.
It's a national tallying center.
Yes.
And what's the purpose and why was it gazetted as a national
Just what is in the first column, like you see?
The
county
purpose is for, it's a legal requirement
basically
that
this
we
entire
must
report, the
have
summary of the counties only.
all
All
the
the-
must be
all the
gazetted
counties.
and
47
running to all
counties.
the other
Yes.
5 we normally gazette tallying centers, so that candidates and the interested persons know where the
And then
tallying take
there's
place.
also
It's a legal
diaspora,
requirement. That's why we gazetted it.
after the
All right,
47
yes.
counties,
And-
which includes prisoners.
The tallying is done. What beyond tallying is any other things done at
But
the
the
National
Elections
NTC?
Act, as relating
Yes,
to Form 3,
it's
34C.
It's an
What's the
operation.
information
We
supposed
talk
to be
of
contained in
verification,
Form
tallying
34C?
of results, and final declaration.
Form
of the
34C
winner
is
of that election,
a summation
or
of
the final
all
declaration
the
of
results.
All those
from the
activities
polling
happen
station,
at the National Tallying Center. But they can't happen
That's
in
Form
isolation. Of
34A
course, it's a whole operation.
is what translates into
And
that
there are many
4C.
people, there are many players.
So
a lot of
34C in
other
the law
activities happen.
has
Right.
40, how
I
many
don't see
polling stations?
46,229
But we
polling
hear mention of
stations.
Nairobi
That's what we had in.
And 290
and
constituencies
other places.
and 47
I
counties.
believe you have
Yes.
only one national.
So it's basically what you said, it's about 400,
The
500
National Tallying
pages
Center
document.
was at Bomas of Kenya. And
So the
there's no
law says
other,
Form 34C
National Tallying
is supposed
Center
to be
for purposes of
500
20
pages.
2022 general
But here you're
elections.
telling us
Purposes
that
of ju-
a 3-page document, which is a summary of
Elections. Now,
counties only,
we go
is Form
to the
34C.
next
And you've been
point.
maintaining throughout in your affidavit
talk
and in
about
your evidence in the morning.
The
What you
Form
did to
34C,
enhance transparency,
which was
And this
printed,
start at
is
paragraph
over
42.
400 pages, 450 pages.
all the way to
This is a
45.
summation of the document for
and
purpose
the
of
issue of
discussion
verification. I
by
can
Chairman, you know, we began by you
commissioners.
telling us
Yes.
compliance of the law is
And
important,
if you
Chairman, and that's
say
why
you did it
I'm
in an
insisting.
open way,
You've told us
and
compliance
I
of the law,
want you to
and you've said that
explain
Commissioner Irene Masit
done in
broke the law.
investigation,
And I'm telling you now, the law
and
is
how you
clear
managed
on
it
what
as the
Form
chairman
34C
of
is.
the IEBC.
Is that Form 34C, Chairman?
This
Yes,
is
first,
part of Form
we
34C.
just-
No, no,
It's
I'm
a
saying-
summary
no.
of 34C. It's not
secondly,
34C.
Is
no,
that-
what
complete.
was the
Chairman, I'm
result
asking you,
part?
is that Form 34C?
Once at you.
The
It's
result
not
path is
complete.
as per the Gazette notice.
Form 34C
laid out
is
in
a summation of
paragraph
34S,
7,
and this then is a summary at the end.
runs up
Chairman,
to,
there's a format. There's a format of Form 34C in the
paragraph-
Elections
yes, the
Act, and I'm
entire
asking you again,
paragraph
Chairman.
7,
Is
yes.
that the
Would you like
format
me to
prescribed? It's the Elections
very
Act says in the
Yes.
prescribed
Go together.
format. Is that the prescribed format?
So election
This
This
is
is a summary at the end of
No,
the
Chairman,
form.
I'm saying, is that the prescribed
The
format?
Form
and at the
34C
polling
itself
station,
is in the
for
format
purpose of
prescribed.
presidential election.
You can show me
the-
that 4C if you have it
The
here. It
voting
was,
yeah, I want
and
to show you the
counting
form
is done at
34C
the
how it looks like.
constituency. I mean at the
So we
polling
can,
station, and then we have Form 34A filled by the presiding officer and signed by the presiding officer and the
So that we
agent.
can make progress.
And once
This is
that's
not from
done,
34, I mean from
That's how I need to
34C.
confirm on the-
scanned and
this is a
circulated to the
summation at the end of Form
Tallying
34C.
Center and
It's
the
part of Form
constituency
34C.
tallying
It's part of,
center.
but it's not.
And
Yes,
we
it's
had
not
a
so-
And in
copy
your
of
affidavits
the
filed in the
same
Supreme Court,
public.
Chairman, did you file Form
So that is
34C?
the genesis
We
of the
filed, first of
In your
all,
affidavit? In your affidavit? in
yes,
your
we
Affidavit,
submitted
yeah.
all the Form
You
34S,
talked about
all
technology
Form
and the
34Bs,
basis
and the
why-
entire Form 34C to the Supreme Court.
Kindly
What I'm saying, Chairman,
Yes.
Yes, so
Chairman, in your
for
affidavit,
purposes of
you refer to
the
several
election,
documents.
we
Is there any part of your
then
affidavit
set
that you've
up a
referred to
public
34C and annexed it? In
to
your affidavit in the
ensure
Supreme
that
Court,
all
not what
the
you submit,
results
but I'm
are
saying
deposited
in
the
your
public
affidavit.
portal.
Even your lawyer
And
can assist you. Show me
anybody
one
who
paragraph
wish
in
to
there.
interact with
You've
the
there are
result,
3 affidavits you filed in
not
the Supreme
just
Court.
Kenyans, but the whole world.
I just want one
have an
paragraph that you
opportunity,
said herewith
to
annexed is Form
interact with
34C
the
in the
results.
format
Did
prescribed
that
in the
portal
election
have
There
a
was
password,
no need
or
for
you
that
saying
because
every single
prior,
of
the
this
law
directly
says
public
immediately after an
and any
election
person
petition is
anywhere in the
filed, the
world could access
commission
it?
must submit
Yes,
to the
we
Supreme Court
did not have a
all the
password for the
results
portal.
in
We just
Form
logged in
34A,
IEBC,
B, and C.
and
And we had
you
already
get into
submitted
the
those
portal.
documents to the Supreme Court.
What we ensured is
You know,
that
So
Chairman,
there
as
was
a
no need
lawyer-
to annex them
firewalls.
to my
You know, as a
affidavit.
lawyer, if
Those
you
who
file an
intended
appeal,
to,
if there is no notice of
penetrate or
appeal,
crash
there is
it,
no record of
would
appeal
not
without
be
notice of
able to.
appeal. It's the mandatory
And I
document.
believe, many
When it comes to
people interacted
presidential
with the portal.
elections,
From
unless
the
there is
records
Form
we have, we had
34C,
386 million
34C.
people worldwide interacting in the portal.
where do you
And,
declare your results
about,
without Form
I
34C?
think,
It's a crucial document that is supposed
mostly
to be in
from
the affidavit.
Kenya, there were
I'm
about
saying the
300, but
documents
80
were
million
already
were
filed
processed
to
with
the
the
Supreme Court in
Right, so
accordance
you're
with the
saying
law.
386
And the Supreme
million
Court
is in
deliberated
a
that
country
matter
of
and
50 million
arrived at a
interacted
judgment
with
on the
the
5th of September.
Thank you very much.
What time
Go
did you
back
announce the
at
results,
paragraph
Mr. Chairman?
42. Let's go
Presidential
to-
results, what
You
time?
were explaining
I
now
don't remember the
verification
exact
how
time, but it was
done.
around 6 p.m.
Yes,
from
so
the 15th of
the verification was
of
done
August.
in line with the
What time did you upload
results path, and
Form
at the
34C
Bomas of
in the
Kenya,
format
then we
prescribed in
set
the
up
Elections Act in
in
the
the
IEBC
auditorium,
portal?
various
As
desks
tallying
which
and
were
verification was
to carry out the
ongoing,
verification.
Form 34C
And,
was automatically generated into the system.
This
and
then was
uploaded
done in
to
an
the
open
public
and
portal.
transparent manner.
You know, there's the
As
populating
it
and
was
what have
done,
you. But
do you
the
know
final
when it started?
Form 34C, it
We
says the
got,
Act says
I think
you
we set
publish
up the
the
desks
entire
way-
Form
way
34C before
the
announcing the
election
results.
date.
Did you
And
ever
the
upload the
first,
entire Form
results
34C
came
before
in,
uploading,
I
announce the
think,
results?
from the 10th
The
of,
sequence of
August.
events was that
10th of August.
Yes,
after
10th
the
of August,
agents
yes.
had
It
signed
involved who in
the
particular?
result
Only
from
IEBC
34C.
officials or
The
commissioners?
desks
was
had IBC
uploaded,
officials with
and
agents.
I
Each
think
desk
that
has
then
an IBC
you can
official.
get
who
evidence
were
from
to deal
the,
with
the records
the
in the
data.
server, but it was
We had
uploaded.
the agents.
Best of my knowledge.
My instructions,
four
Chairman,
presidential
is
candidates.
until today, we don't
And
have
we
Form
had,
34C in the
also
IEBC portal.
then there's a
And
chair for the
what
returning
I
officer
can
when
say
he
is
comes.
that,
He or she comes from
Form
the
34As,
constituency to
Form
present the
34Bs,
results. So that
and the
was
entire Form
composition of
34C was uploaded to the server.
desks at the auditorium.
And the server
In the process, once
kept
you
on
verify
running
what would happen,
until I think it was deactivated in
You
end
know,
of
there's a
November.
server and there's a
Yes.
portal. There's a server which
What were we verifying?
is, no one is accessing, but I'm saying
portal is just
public
a-
portal. I'm saying the public,
results on the
can
portal.
someone access
In
it?
the
If we now
scan form
log on to
34A.
IEBC now, can we get
Then
the
We had
34C in
results now
The
at
server, the
constituency,
public portal is
the
actually a
constituency
server runs
returning
on a
officer
server.
collects all the
And
results
all the
from
forms were
34As from
uploaded
all the polling stations.
through the August period,
From 34B,
September,
and then
October,
brings it to
November,
the
and maintaining
National
the
Tallying
server
Center. So
being
at the
an
National Tallying
expensive
Center,
affair.
the team was
I think
looking
the
at
commission
what,
deactivated it at
what
the
was
end
in the
of
portal
November.
versus the original
it
Form
requires a
34S
lot of
brought
money
in
to
by the
maintain the
returning
firewalls.
officer.
So if you logged in now,
34B,
It
and
will not be there.
if there are
but it
any
was there
errors,
up and
in-
running until
most errors
November.
were
We can always
around
get,
the
30th
calculating
November.
of that 4B.
And that
Then
evidence
the
is
error
there.
forms were filled, and the result forms then
So
were
you're saying
not-
there's
none
evidence
could
that
be
it was
changed,
actually
just fill the
uploaded
error
on
forms.
the system?
And those error forms
All
were
the forms.
all then
Not the
submitted.
forms, not the forms. You know, the law says
And that 4C was not
So
just
the team
uploaded,
was
but
verifying all
shared
these
again with
results.
hard copies were
And once
shared with
the
all
verification
the
was done
presidential
and
candidates
everybody's
and the
happy,
agents.
then the results are
Subsequent to
posted.
the declaration.
The
After
Form
during
34As
declaration
are
and after.
populated into Form 34C
So
by another
they
team
were uploaded and
that
they
was
were
sitting
shared.
on the
So those documents
on
are
the
out
auditorium,
there.
the ICT team. So
So,
then
the
Form
meetings
34C
again
would
of
be
3 a.m.
automatically be generated.
2
Yes.
p.m.
Thank you. Now,
There were no results.
when you say it's automatically generated,
Peter likes
I
saying
need you
that
to
I like legal
explain
maxim,
what
law-
you mean
law maxim.
and whether it
You know
was
the
then
maxim ex
in a
nihilo
place
nihil
where
fit.
the public would view.
Sorry?
Ex
Yes,
nihilo
all the
nihil fit.
desks were in
Nothing
open.
comes out of nothing.
In this auditorium, we had observers, we had members
So
of
if
the
there were no
public
results,
who were
there
accredited
was nothing
to
to be
be
moderated, there
present.
was nothing to be discussed.
And it
Well,
was in an open
that's
place.
your
Even the
opinion,
ICT
but
team
the
was seated in the
commissioners were
auditorium
part
on
and
their
parcel
own,
of the process. And
Now,
So it's
the
an open
exercise has been
process.
completed.
Were the
saying-
commissioners
And,
I'm saying that is,
kept
I mean,
in
that's
the
a legal
dark
principle.
or
Nothing
were-
comes of nothing.
Were involved in any way?
By the way,
all-
the results that
yes.
the commissioners kept going
That's it.
to
All the six
read to the public,
commissioners were
you're aware they were
with me in the
handwritten.
auditorium.
They were never typed.
Right from the beginning, and they were all over the auditorium.
Well,
assisting
None
the
of them was
process,
typed.
the process,
exercise of tallying. and
just to
verification.
take you back,
No,
from
okay.
34S
And
came
as the
with the
verification
turning officer
was
together with
happening,
34B.
we could see
And
announcements
where
being
there
made
were
by commissioners.
A
Kindly
bit of
explain.
errors in the
how
form
that
34B, it was
Yes,
corrected. And before posting
the
into
constituency returning
populating
officer,
the
after
form
going
34C.
through the process
So
and
where there were those corrections, I think
the
that's
verification, which was very thorough,
on
by
the form
way.
34B.
I remember
that's
in
where
the
the
beginning
handwritten,
it took a lot of time
issues
because
may
of
be
the
coming
scrutiny of those.
But whatever was written was in
that
agreement
4S
with
and,
agents and the
4Bs.
teams that were
Mr.
on
Chairman,
Well,
you
I'm
know,
saying
when
this
you
is
see
handwritten for the
it was
record. They
very
were not,
thorough.
they were
Not all of them,
Probably
but
now King's English.
a number of
It's
them.
good to explain when you say it was very thorough. What do you mean?
Because all the agents had a chance to look at all the forms, and if
you
there
did
was
the three
any
commissioners,
issue,
Molu and,
then it will be
Bule
brought
for
to our attention
six
as a
years.
commission
So
and
you
is
build
resolved before that result is
kind of
announced.
comradeship with the three of them. When the four joined you in September, did you do anything to
Yeah, then the
bond the
commissioners
groups,
would go
the
and
two
announce the
groups?
result. I announced the first
To create a unified
result. I
commission.
think that was will be East.
About
And then
comradeship, I don't know. We
the
were
rest
just
were
working.
done by the commissioners.
So
I
you
mean,
are
it's
saying
public
it was
perception,
thorough?
it's public knowledge, Chairman,
Involved
that
everyone?
Yes.
we always saw the
commissioners
three of you and the other
Yes,
four were together.
everybody
The
was
three of you were
Right.
separate. So I don't
At
know. Maybe it's
Any-
public
was there
perception. We have it
any
wrong.
point?
I don't know
Did you
where-
And I mean
I don't know where you
particular
saw.
Commissioner Irene Masid
In
came
the
and said,
commission,
This,
we worked
what you
together,
verified as
and
votes,
as
looking
your
at the
client,
photo of
she,
what was
everybody had
scanned at the
we were
police
free with
station.
each other.
It's a
And we
problem
took all the
that's not
trouble
correct.
to ensure that the new commissioners were
I'm not aware
up
of
to speed.
any
Including
such
Did you, I mean, did you
issue
gel the
being
group?
raised
Did
by
you try
Commissioner
to bring-
Masit
to
about
create one unified
results being or
commission?
not being
We
correct.
had various
Not
retreats.
correct.
Yeah.
We had
And
trainers.
This
We
announcement
bonded
you're saying
and
you
we
did
gelled,
the
and we
first
took
one.
them
Who did
through
other
the
announcements?
process of elections.
And how many announcements were there?
Which,
You have the numbers, so
it's
you have how many
documented.
were remaining. Who was
When
doing them?
you
We have
when you finished reading the results on 15 of
291
August, you told us
returning
the
officers
commissioner
for
said
the
they went to
2022
hide.
general
Did you also go to hide?
elections, presidential elections,
Me, I went to my house.
and all the rest
to
of
my
the
house, Rob.
announcements
I didn't go to
or
hide
for
anywhere.
the results was done by the commissioners. I don't have figures as to
Do you know
announce how
Peter
many,
Chalanga? Have you met him? A person called
but the
Peter
rest of the
Chalanga?
No,
commissioners
I've not met
did the
Peter
announcement.
Chalanga.
We will get to the point where Commissioner Irene Masit
When,
appears to have an issue.
When you had
But
the
did
issue of
she
the
make
materials in the
announcements
airport, when they
herself?
were seized the materials.
Yes, she did.
the election
She
materials.
announced quite a number of constituency results for presidential
somewhat-
elections.
And
was resolved.
during her announcement, did she raise
Did
an
you have a
issue?
role in the
You're
resolution of
asking
the-
me to announce this. I have a problem
Let me ask a
with it.
blunt
Was there an
question.
issue raised?
Did you meet the president to resolve the
Not
issue?
from Commissioner Masit.
On which materials?
Maybe the
When they
other
were seized at the airport
commissioner,
from the-
one had an issue
from
with
those-
the appellation of results,
Venezuelans
and we
were-
resolved
there
it,
were
and they
some
went
materials
back
that
and
the airport
announced
was
the
public
correct
knowledge.
result.
Yes.
I think that
Did
was
you meet the
Commissioner
president to resolve
Nyang'aya.
it?
In one
I
area.
didn't meet
In
the
one area,
president.
one
The issue was
constituency.
resolved.
Yes.
But nothing from Irene.
When the
Nothing
Venezuelans were
from,
arrested, did you meet the
Commissioner
president?
Right. We move to
During that time?
paragraph
Yes.
47,
The Venezuelans were arrested.
46,
No, I did not meet the
flowing
Did you talk to him?
46.
No, I didn't talk to the president.
And the materials were seized. Did you talk to him?
We then move to
No.
47, all the way to 52.
But they were somewhat resolved.
I spoke
You
with the
said there
Director of
was
Criminal
a slow
Investigations
progress,
and the
right?
Inspector General
And
of
you
Police
talk about changes done.
on those issues.
And I need you to explain, was it a single,
As I say again, Chairman,
you
all this
solely
is one day will come
making
out. How it was done.
changes
But for
or
now, we just
proposals?
like
Was it a commission or how do you did you resolve this?
When did
Yes,
you know? At what
we
point
had
did
a
your results
workflow
out, were
plan
ready to be
which
announced?
had been put in place,
At what
and
point?
after the
Yes, what time
first
of the day?
3 days,
What
we
time,
realized we had
when
only
Marjan
done
brought them,
about
I can't tell the exact
about
time, but it was
35
around,
to 40
maybe around 4 p.m.
constituencies.
or
Then we realized, given the constitutional timelines,
15 August.
which require that we complete the exercise within 7 days, we realized we would not be able to finish
When did you
this
send out
exercise at that
invites?
slow pace.
What date?
So we called for a commission meeting, an
invites for
informal meeting.
declaration
We had
were-
many meetings, by the way, on
the
every issue that arose.
presidential
And
candidates
we agreed that
either
we
both or one of
change
them
the
to
format
attend
of
results.
doing things
I think that was
so
done in
that
the morning when we had
we
finished
increased
with
the number of
verification
verification desks to
tally.
14
Then we
from
invited
7, 14 or
government
15.
hoping
And
that
then
we
also
gone
we
through all
changed
the
the
other
format
processes
so
by
that
then.
we
My
could
information,
fast track
Chairman,
the process.
and is
We had returning officers from
You can send
the
invites on
constituents
12 of
just
August.
sitting there for
You-
2,
can you
3
remember?
days, and
Sorry?
we
You
had not
send
been
invites
able
on 12 of August.
to filter them. So we had to change the format.
I don't think that's true.
And it worked.
The invites
And
must
this,
be dated.
you
If
say
they are
we
here, you
held a
can
meeting.
show
What
me
do you
the
mean
one.
by we held a
Your approval
meeting?
Show me
We,
the one you
I
are
and the
referring to.
commissioners
You gave approval on 12
had a meeting with the CEO, and we
don't
decided
remember
to change the
As I
format.
did, we said-
And we also invited the agents of the candidates to brief them on the changes.
Was
Chairman,
there
do
any
you know
challenge
the
or
four
dispute
petitioners who
from
have
the
filed to
agents?
remove,
Nobody, everybody agreed
file
with
this
the
petition
format,
initially.
and we proceeded
And
with the exercise.
was there
There
any
is
issue
Ivumbi.
raised by Commissioner Irene Masit?
None whatsoever.
Was she part
War Steve
of the
Jerry?
solution?
Yes, she was.
Right. Now,
Is the other guy, the
through
chairman?
the evidence, we'll hear about some committees or commissioners you had given appointed to do specific tasks.
Yes,
Was that correct?
yes.
Were there any who were supposed to oversee this issue of verification and the like?
Zakaria
Yes, for
Matai.
purposes of
I don't know them personally.
the verification,
No, except
all commissioners participated
I've seen
in
on
the exercise
TV,
of verification and tallying.
I can
But
maybe pick up
as
this from now,
part
but
of governance, you cannot just have everybody doing everything. Bombers was a huge operation.
Finally,
And so it put in place a mechanism
So you-
where
you're not a witness
commissioners
of this full
would oversee certain
not the ones
functions.
who
And
brought
this
me
then
They were invited by-
was in
brought here
preparation for
by the tribunal.
the
Just
tallying
so we know
and
that.
the period of tallying itself.
So you,
So I
not
set
play
up
any part
committees
in
as
preparing
part
the
of
four petitions,
corporate
filing
governance
petitions?
for its management
play
of
any
the
part in
center.
preparing the
No,
petitions?
and
did
for
not.
purposes
Were you
of
aware of
the
them?
coordinating
I was
activities in
only
the
aware
National
when the
Tallying
matters
Center,
went
Professor
before the
Kulie and
Parliament.
But you were not aware
Hussein
before?
Marijan and
No.
a team of staff were in charge of that operation.
finally,
And
Chairman,
was there a role where for
do you
Commissioner
have
Irene
confidence in the
Masit?
Supreme Court?
Yes,
As a
Commissioner
citizen,
Masit and Commissioner
Established by
Wanderi
the Constitution of
were
Kenya.
put in charge of
Do you have confidence in
security
in our
and
Supreme Court?
Yes, sir, yes, I do.
welfare.
Oh,
What
It's
do I
a
mean
part of
by
the rule of law,
security?
and we
As a commission, of
expect,
course, we have to work
the
with
judiciary,
the
not the
National
Supreme
Police
Court,
Service
but
and
all the
other
courts, as an
operations
arm of
where we have
And do you
security
have
not just for the
confidence
center, but
in
this
this
was
tribunal
security
set up by
for
the
the whole
Constitution
country,
on Article
where we
251?
deployed
Yes,
over
I do.
100,000 police officers to man the elections. And all the
So,
complaints were
last
ending
week
up
when
at
you
the
were presenting
commission.
your final
And so
post-election
this
evaluation
was security
report,
and welfare of staff. Then we had also
Watching the-
Commissioner
the-
Molu
the-
and
the-
Vice Chairperson
you are
Juliana
calling for
in charge of media center and the
establishment
call
of
center.
Commission
So
of
those
Inquiry
were the major areas
on
of
the
operation.
election disputes.
And
Yes.
as you set up these committees,
I have read your report, the post-election
and
report.
put together
Nowhere in the report have you
commissioners
made any
and
allegation,
staff
have
to
you
assist, were there
made
any
any adverse
problems or
findings
any
on the
challenges,
process?
especially from
Even in your
Irene,
forwarding
Commissioner
letter, in the
Irene
covering
Masit?
letter in the report.
There were no challenges
So,
on
I
the
just want
rest
to
except
understand in what
Commissioner
context
Masit came
did
and
you
told me
now
she can't work with
go
Commissioner
outside the
Wanderi.
report and outside your own covering letter in the
She
report
wants to be
call
her
for
own
establishing a commission of inquiry?
team.
Is
So
it
I
that you
split
don't-
the security and welfare and gave her
didn't
the
trust
welfare
or
part,
you didn't,
and Commissioner
like the Supreme
Wanderi
Court judgment,
handled the
or
security.
you
That
didn't
split
like
is
the
where
I just
I
want to
was
understand the
getting to
context.
Yes.
know
Because
whether
you know
it
this
was
was ongoing.
out of the blue
You knew the Supreme
or
Court
it was a
decision.
request.
So
It was a
what was
request,
it that made you
and
ask for
Commissioner
commission
Wanderi
of
also
inquiry?
came and said, I can't work with Commissioner Masit. And so I said, okay, fine.
transparent
So
election, I believe.
Right,
Yes,
we will not
yes,
go
yes,
to the
yes,
reasons,
yes,
but
yeah.
And if
you
notice
just split
from
because you
the
wanted your
last
commission to
3
work.
elections
I just
we have
wanted
had, 2013,
smooth operation.
2017, under
And
the new
yes.
constitution.
As they
We've been
worked
improving gradually.
pre-15th August,
In the last
did
election,
any of them raise
everything
any
went
issues?
well except the
Not
incidents
as relates
at,
to
bombers and
the
also in
operation
some
of bombers,
areas like
then
Narok
it was not
and
brought to my
other
attention.
Any
counties
issue
where there was
it
some
was then
violence.
brought
And
to your attention?
where I sit, as I leave the
We
commission,
are aware there were
I
some
believe that
announcements that were
we should never
pending.
have a repeat of those incidents. We
Several, I
must
think
get to the
20-something,
root of it to ensure that
before issues
that doesn't.
arose,
That's
you
the only
remember?
problem we have as a
Yes,
country.
there were 27
that, those
constituency
incidents happen. And
results
I
which
believe a
had
commission of
been
inquiry
verified
be
on
the best
night,
not
or
just
the
me,
morning,
the commission
I mean, the
actually
night of
wrote to
15th, or the morning of
president
15th, but they had not
look
been
into
announced.
how
Now,
that can
before
be
the
set up.
announcement,
Yes.
were
Chairman,
those
what
the,
I'm
la-
saying as
were
we
those
conclude
the
this thing
last ones?
Yes, those were the
with
last
our worst
ones.
election violence
Those are
in
the last
2007.
Yes.
So you had
Our
done a good
elections were nullified in
percentage in
2017.
terms of verification?
Our
Yes,
elections
out
were
of
held in
291,
2022, and
those
the Supreme Court said
27 were the
they
last
extra
ones.
elections.
Out of
So I want
291,
to understand the context and your
27
motivation in
were
asking
remaining.
for commission
Yes.
inquiry in 2022,
okay, we'll get the
which
percentage
Supreme Court found
shortly,
was near perfect,
which is
and not
just
calling for 2017
above 10%,
inquiry, 2007,
or thereabout.
or is your
Now, on
memory
all the others, save
limited
for this
or-
27,
I mean, historical
did
memory is
anyone
limited.
raise, especially the commissioner,
Well,
raise
I
an
don't
issue?
understand.
There was
question.
I'm
no
saying we
issue
have
raised
had, we've
by
had worse
Commissioner
situations. We have
Masip
2017,
on
which we
any of
chaired,
the
which was
results
nullified,
that were
and there
announced.
was violence in
In
2017.
terms of the
We had
forms,
limited, very
the
limited
way the
violence
forms
in
were
2022,
filled,
and they're very
the
limited.
validity of the
But you
forms,
call for
especially
commission of inquiry in
34C,
2022.
was
So
there any
if you
challenge,
say,
any
as
issues
you've
raised
claimed
by
yourself, but
Commissioner?
then
I
not under
didn't
the Evidence Act, when
None
you
whatsoever.
see. Right?
you
Now,
you check the
we
high
go
road
to where issues
section
started.
of the Evidence Act. You
And
must,
we go to
your own
paragraph
integrity must be put
58,
into question as a witness.
which also appears
So you've called for
in the
commission of
petition
inquiry
by
in
Reverend
2022 elections
Tumbi,
when there was no violence, we didn't have
and also
mass killings,
for
mass
Langat,
killings in
paragraph
2007, and we had elections nullified in 2017. You were the chairman in 2017.
You know, at 55,
If
you mentioned
you are
about attempts
raiding
to
the high moral, I
subvert
mean, you're on the,
the will
working on the
of the people
high moral
as an
ground this
introduction.
and asking for elections commission of inquiry in
Obviously,
2022.
we are there.
Should have had the same courage
And I would be
to ask from
happy
2017
to
until
know
now.
why you headed
Why didn't you
into
ask
that.
from 2017 until 2022?
Attempts to subvert the will
There
of the
was
people.
no violence.
You are
in
a very,
2017.
very senior
What we are talking
lawyer,
about here is
and a senior to
violence.
myself and Donna.
We are talking about
here.
individuals
And probably as a
attempting
lawyer,
to subvert
it
the
would be
will of
fair
the
to
people.
ask when you talk
None
about
of these
subverting
issues
the
were
will of
there
the people
earlier.
vis-à-vis
And
what the
this can only be
Constitution
unearthed
expects of you.
in
Chairman,
Kindly
under your watch,
explain.
a situation
2017,
like this.
The
people were actually
constitution
killing
of
your
Kenya is
commission.
very, very clear
2017,
on
I mean, 2020 there were threats. even on
what
you.
our system of
So you should have
elections
asked for
through,
actual commission of
democracy,
2017 and 2022
and
to
we,
have saying
as a
if you-
commission, were
following
put
your
in place to
sequence of
ensure
thought.
that Kenyans
You cannot
then
be
express their
selective on
will,
2022
which is
and not
through the
2017.
ballot, and that we then announce the winners of those particular elections. This then brings me to Article 81 of the Constitution, which 81A, which is very clear. It requires that we remain independent and that the election conducted is transparent. We conduct it in a transparent, impartial, neutral, and efficient manner, which is also accountable.
before
As a commission, we are referees,
Yeah, the
and
final issue.
as a
The
referee,
Supreme Court
then
judgment.
you expect that you do
My
your
last
work
issue, Supreme Court
fairly to everyone. And so
Actually
these
voided
activities
section, regulation 87
which
that you
were
kept
listed
using
here, I've listed
to
here,
run a
were
one-man
then
show at IEBC.
attempts
Regulation was nullified by the
to
Supreme Court
divert
judgment
the
in
commission
2022.
from what the Constitution expects.
And the Supreme
us.
Court
Were
is
they
finding
then
again.
attempts to
Chairman. They read your affidavits, your
breach
three
or
affidavits.
violate
They read the affidavits of all the other commissioners.
Constitution?
Yes, definitely,
And they
because
came
the
to the
Constitution
conclusion
expects
that
of the commission
the
to
dispute
be
between the three of you and the
independent,
other four commissioners
treat
was a boardroom
all
dispute.
candidates fairly,
They
be
had your
independent
issues in the
and
affidavit about the
transparent, and
3
all
AM
those
meetings,
things that are listed
2 PM
in
meetings,
Article 81E.
about the press conference of
Now,
Serena.
anything short
The
of
Supreme
that,
Court had all those
then
issues.
it negates
And they reached
what
a
is
finding.
expected. And also, we
So
also have
as a
Article
chair, as a
249, which is also
You
clear
filed 3
that
affidavits
we
to the
ought to
Supreme
do our
Court.
work
And you made
without,
all those allegations.
in
You gave the Supreme Court
in
all
accordance with the
documents which
Constitution
will not be provided
and
for.
without
And the Supreme Court
interference
did not
from
find
anyone.
anything
And
wrong
also
with the
our
conduct
oath of
of the
office
commissioners.
is very, very clear.
They don't
It
even find
reiterates
anything wrong
all
with the other
those
3
things.
commissioners. They
Right.
did not find anything
Yeah,
wrong
so
with IEBC as a whole.
then whatever activities listed
only thing
here
they found was that
are
it
then
was
diversions that
internal
would
issue, it was
have
an
made
administrative
us
dispute which should be fixed by the commission.
be party to subverting the
So
will
why
of
do you
the people.
still
You've
want
talked about your oath of
Commissioner
office.
Irene
Yes.
Masisi to be
And
followed
before we go to
for
the
events of 5th
circumstance,
August, when the Supreme Court
what
already
exactly
had it
happened?
and determined
What
it?
is expected of your oath of office as
Well, as I said,
commissioners of
it's,
IEBC?
First,
The Supreme Court had
we
9
swear
issues of
to
termination.
uphold the Constitution and the
9.
laws, the relevant laws.
And all those issues
and
were
of
dealt
course,
with. There was no issue as to the governance
it
structures
reiterates,
of the IEBC.
it's in sync
If
with
there-
Article
there was,
249,
then we could have
which
filed,
says we only
relevant affidavits,
obey
to
the
that
Constitution
effect.
and the law. but not
having
an
said so,
individual
I
authority.
think,
That is then
the
expounded
recommendations
by
of the
Article
Supreme Court
81E
is
as
what
to then
informs part
carries
of
the
the
issue of
post-election
impartiality
evaluation, and I believe
and
those issues
independence.
will be addressed
What
by
the commission
the incoming
then,
commission.
the chair and the commission are expected to be impartial
Chairman,
and
have you read,
independent, and the commission in general.
Of the judgment,
If
Yes.
that's the
paragraphs
oath of office,
2008
what then if
244 of the
you
judgment of the Supreme Court,
commissioners of
they
former
actually made findings
commissioners
on the
then
affidavits.
support
Yes, I'm saying the
attempts to
issues for
subvert the will
determination.
of the people?
As a council, you know, we answer
Then we would
to the
have
issues for
simply,
determination. And the
acted
issue
against
about
the
how
Constitution,
the commission
and,
is governed was
it should
not
be held
one
to
of the
account.
issues. If one
Acted against the
goes
Constitution.
outside,
If it was, we would have
there is
filed
oath of office,
relevant documentation.
Gone outside oath of
to,
office.
yes, to
Thank
give
you
the
very
Supreme
much.
Court
I
a chance
will
to,
jump at
to
paragraph
make a finding
57,
on whether the
because the
commission
people mentioned they are
follows
not here,
those
and go
governance
to
structures.
paragraph 58.
And I believe those findings could
Now,
not have been
there
the
was
same
an
if we had
incident
that
at
opportunity
3
to
a.m.
put the
on the
documentation
15th of
before the
August.
Supreme Court.
When you visited by some
My
people
understanding of the judgment
mentioned
is that they
there,
actually
Yes.
3
conclusions
a.m.
on
had
the-
you slept or were
on
you
the conduct
working
of the
through the day
commissioners,
and
the
through
7
the night?
commissioners,
We were
made
working
findings
24/7
243.
for
And the
the
last
5
5
days.
findings of the
I never went
So again,
home
I'm
to sleep.
asking if the Supreme
never
Court
went
had your
home?
affidavit.
Yes,
Let's
I went
again,
home only to refresh
let me
and
agree
change
with
and
them, they
come
did not
back.
Okay.
reach a finding
Yeah,
on
but
it,
we
But
were
the
working
affidavit
day and night.
in which you set out the
And
disputes. You
most
set
of the
out the meetings of 3
commissioners
a.m. in
were
the morning,
also there,
of 4
maybe one or
2
two to go
o'clock,
rest
Serena conference.
and come and so
So
like
if there was anything wrong with
we
those
just had to work.
incidences,
Now,
why didn't the
you
Supreme Court
said
decide on them?
that somebody
And then the
contacted
evidence
you
before
that
them.
you had
I
these
think
guests.
that's for the Supreme Court to
Kindly
say. I don't know
explain
what
who contacted
the
you.
judges considered or did not
and,
consider. But all I know is that all those
talk about
affidavits were
several
filed
attempts.
around the same time on
Kindly
26, 27, and there was no
Paragraph
time
58.
for filing further affidavits and reports.
Yes,
and so forth
the
because of the limited time.
auditorium
So I
and
believe we
the
put the-
holding room
what we
are
could
adjoined,
in terms of
and
focusing
we
on the
are
issues
also
that
operating
were
from the
been
holding
set for determination.
room.
No, because when you spoke initially, Chairman, it
Working
was
from
so,
there, and then I got messages from
the word can say
members
emotional
of
about
staff,
that. There
from
was
my
like
security
breach of the
detail
Constitution.
that
There was
this
like an intention to subvert
gentleman
the will
and
of the
commissioners, that this gentleman
people. When you
wanted to see
when
me.
did you file your affidavit?
And this
The
was,
Supreme Court,
I think,
around,
it was done on the
that
26th
time.
So,
Of August.
of
Then
August,
The
they,
incidents you're referring to are 15 of
they
August.
came in.
You had
Actually, I didn't
2
say
weeks
yes,
to
they
do-
should come,
I
but
mean,
they came in
about 11
just
days to
like
do the
that,
affidavit.
uninvited. They just
So
walked in.
if you are so minded,
And where you
that
were
there
in the
was
boardroom,
an
the
intentional
office?
will to
I was
subvert
in the holding room.
Okay.
I had
because you
actually
set it out in the affidavit.
told my CEO I'll take a
It
nap
was dealt with
for
by
1
the Supreme
hour
Court. So my issue is that
and
why is it being
wake me
revisited?
up
It has been dealt with by the
around
Supreme
that
Court.
time, but I was
Supreme
woken
Court
up by
finality.
this gentleman instead.
So you are sleeping
Do you
with
have an
some
issue
Yes,
against
yes,
gentlemen
commissioner?
wake you up.
You
on,
don't have
on my
sitting
chair,
commission?
yes.
Now, because one of the gentlemen will
I'm
come
here on
later
invitation of
in a meeting with you
counsel
somewhere
for the
out
tribunal.
of the NTC,
And what I came to
That
say
first
is
person,
that
who
what
was-
I
who was
said
he?
in the affidavit is true.
That is
Based on my knowledge on events
Honorable
that
Raphael
happened.
Tuju.
As for Commissioner Masi,
He was at that time, at that
I've
point in
said is
time, a
what
cabinet
he
secretary
said,
in
and
the previous
and
government.
That's why I'm here.
And he just, he came there on behalf of the Azimio party.
and as did Azimio have a presidential candidate?
Five issues.
Yes, it had a presidential candidate and also a chief agent.
They had a chief
Who we
agent,
had
of
agreed
course.
that any issues which involves
indeed.
candidates should be
You
raised by
asked
chief
whether
agent.
All right, so
Yes.
this is somebody from the Azimio camp.
And then
There was a
there's one
senator
specific
also.
issue you picked, but you
Yes,
didn't
Senator
explain.
Amos Wako, former
You
Attorney
said that you
General,
had an issue
was also
shared
in the group,
That filed
Right.
in
cases
among the
against
three
commission.
people.
Kindly
Okay, let me not
clarify.
mention my colleague.
So
Now,
the-
this
When you were being asked whether you had any
people,
challenge or
you are
Excuse me,
saying,
excuse me,
I
excuse
didn't
me.
see it.
Yes.
You
choose
made a
whom to
comment and
mention,
said
whom not to mention.
we had
Okay, very
case,
well.
they
So
filed
she was
affidavits.
the third person.
The
It's
commission.
not me.
Very well.
Kindly clarify
The
what you
third
mean
person?
and what was
The
the
third person
About
is
the Commissioner filing
Advocate
affidavits.
Kyalom
yes,
Bobu,
against the commission.
who
in the
introduced himself
presidential
as such.
election petitions.
Introduced himself as an advocate.
2022.
Yes.
Right. Now,
The
you then say
government's,
that the attempt was to
the
discuss
Commissioner Masit filed
tallying
an
and
affidavit
results.
where she.
Yes.
How did you know
pointed
that
to the
this is
effect
what they
that,
wanted to discuss?
They
didn't agree with the
introduced
election
the
results,
purpose of the
and
visit,
they should be
that
nullified,
they wanted to discuss
and made various
about the
allegations,
tallying and ongoing
which
process.
in my view, are
And
not true about the commission.
I then told them
Did
if
the
that's the case,
commission,
then I'll ask the commissioners to join
sanction
us in
that?
the meeting because it's
those
a matter then that would involve the whole
No, we
commission.
did not.
Why didn't you
say
say
they were not
discuss
true.
with them? They
They were not
found
true.
you, they've come to see you. Second issue,
The election
230,
operation
volume
is not the
4.
chairperson's operation alone.
I am aware you
It's
are
the
not
commission
a party
then
in
that
this matter, but it has a gazette notice.
matters
Was
that
it
relate to
ever
the entire
challenged,
election. So in all these matters that affect elections, I've always taken the liberty as chair to invite commissioners
No
if there are
issue was
issues to
raised about
discuss.
this
And
gazette
this is what
notice until,
I adopted throughout the
Minister
Bomas
Graham
time
hearing,
and even
I
before.
think when
There must be
matters
a
went
bigger
before the
reason
Supreme
why you
Court.
didn't want to
But the
involve.
commissioners did not raise any
3 a.m. in the morning,
Even in your sittings,
three
did you ever
gentlemen
raise
to discuss
any
elections.
issue about
I
this?
think that was reason enough.
Absolutely not.
That was reason
No,
enough.
no
Yes.
issue was raised about it.
Right, and it's the first time you're hearing. You then say that the commissioners joined you in paragraph 58.
There's an issue
59,
raised about due allocation
and you
of
talked
duties.
because you're not operating a vacuum to different commissioners.
I
and
need you
staff
to say
of the
at what
commission.
time
Yes.
did these others
join you, and
you-
where did
was
they join
Irene-
you? The Commissioner Irene Masita located.
The
Chief
commissioners
Challenge,
were on
raised
the
issues
floor
pre-
of
before
the
today.
auditorium
As
doing
I
what they
mentioned,
were
the only
doing,
issue was she did not
participating
want
in
to
the
work with
tallying
the
and verification.
Commissioner Wanderi.
And
When
it
that
just
was
took a
resolved,
minute or two for
she
them to
continued
come
with her duties.
and join us.
as allocated.
So they joined you in the holding
Second
place.
last
Yes,
question.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Was Commissioner Irene Masit one of them?
Yes,
There were
so
so
she
many
was
questions
present.
raised.
yes, she was present.
You're
in
sure
that.
she was present in this meeting,
Yes,
right?
I'm sure.
34C.
Now,
You then
and
go on to
Mr.
explain
Tip Correll,
in paragraph
counsel for
59
Commissioner
and
Masif,
56
mention paragraph
and
2
of
208
concern
244
is where you talk about
the
moderation.
judgment, and he mentioned it.
In paragraph 60,
244,
I need you to
there was a
explain
clear finding.
what was this request and what did they mean by saying moderation?
He mentioned 244.
In 59, the
court
first to
make a
speak
finding
was
of those
Senator
issues in
Amos
244.
Wako, who
Yes,
said that as former Attorney General, remember elections were at some point managed in the Attorney General's office.
Yes,
And Attorney General's office
244A,
was very, very powerful as
where
regards
the
election.
court
He said
we are satisfied.
we should not operate in a vacuum.
As I find that notwithstanding the
We should look
divisions
at the bigger
apparent
picture
between the
for the
chairperson
country.
and the four
And
commissioners, IEBC carried
as,
out the verification tallying
supervisor, then when you reach
and
this kind
declaration
of
results
situation,
in accordance with that
you can moderate or moderate results and
So that
achieve
issue
stability
settled?
Yes.
Right. The last
of the
thing,
country.
paragraph 8
Then we had
of that judgment, you
also
mentioned
Honorable Tuchu
about
spoke.
the issues before.
He said that it was necessary that we moderate these results in favor of Baba,
Paragraph 8
and that any contrary declaration of results would plunge the country
when you're
into
being
chaos.
asked whether
Okay,
you have
because
confidence
this
Yes.
of this
proceedings
tribunal, you've mentioned
are
that there were
recorded
9 issues.
when you say in
Now,
favor of
clarify,
Baba. Are
what
those
do you
the
mean?
issues that are
I
set
understood
in
Baba
paragraph
to mean
8 of the judgment?
the
And
Asmio
do they
presidential
relate
candidate,
with the
because that's
issue
what they call him.
Who was who?
Raila Odinga.
Raila Odinga.
Yes.
So the moderation was to be in favor of Raila Odinga.
Yes.
And you then flow to the issue of
go
runoff
through them?
in paragraph 60.
No, just confirm
Can you
whether they're the
explain?
ones.
You said that in
there
the
are ones,
alternative, if
these
it
are
was
the
not
9
possible
issues before
to moderate the results
before the Supreme Court.
in that
Right.
manner, then we should
What about is the issue
ensure
before the
that there is a
tribunal
runoff.
part of those? How? What was it?
He
part
didn't
of the
say
issues
how.
that were before?
I also don't know how
before this tribunal?
that would be done.
Okay,
No,
what
it's
about
not part of
moderation?
this
Did you
9
know how
issues.
it is not done?
Part of those
I
issues.
have no idea how
Many,
to,
many.
because
Thank you.
the
Thank you very much.
elections
Mr. Chairman,
reflect the will of the
I'll leave it
people.
at that and let's say
And as I said, from that
tribunal
4A
members have any
is
questions.
announced at the polling
Chebukati, we
station and
thank you for
transmitted
finding time
to
to
the portal. So any form of moderation would not be possible.
So without sounding political, what you're
Yes,
saying is
yes.
coming from bottom up or from the polling station up to the National Tallying Center.
Yes, I believe if this gentleman knew
the
this
transparent system we had put in
we
place,
wish
perhaps
to-
they would not have made this
So we are
visit.
grateful for the
Because at the end of the day, the
take
results
in
were already
all
out
our
there in
witnesses.
the portal.
We believe
And
we've set
any
out
attempt to
good
change them
grounds and
would
we
result
wish to
into
close it at that point.
a lot of other problems.
Well, you've just
Push
said
it to Mr. Donald
if these guys had known what we had set up, what do you mean?
I'm saying
Commissioners, we
they
are also
were
grateful for
talking as if the thing of the old days when we didn't have transmission of results into the portal,
Once Peter closes this
where
case,
elections then were not that transparent. But the systems were put in place were such
Thank you to
that
each one
these
of you.
suggestions they were making would not be possible.
Did the constitution of this
Chair probably
republic
needed, sorry,
envisage
For good order,
or permit a situation where you
it
could
be-
moderate
would be
results
glad
in a
if this is on
presidential
record
election,
that is
or
Absolutely.
change
closing
to
this case and also
permit
is
a
not calling
runoff?
any witness.
Absolutely
on
not.
record for submissions.
Not the 2010 constitution,
Donald
and
Kipureli,
not even the
a
previous
seasoned lawyer.
constitution, if I remember.
Once he said